In this course, I'll take you from a complete beginner knowing absolutely nothing about Vapi and voice AI agents to a seasoned pro who can build, deploy, and scale fully functional voice AI agents across the entire platform. We're going to be covering everything from building your very first assistant, understanding each core component and the foundations, to all the way to 3 real-life builds, including an appointment voice AI agent, an outbound AI caller, and a lead qualification voice AI agent. And you're also going to get all the free resources, templates, and tools if you stick around to the end, so you can just go ahead and start implementing these systems immediately. By the end of this masterclass, whether you're a complete beginner or an agency looking to expand into voice AI, you'll have everything you'll need to confidently master Vapi. And if you don't already know me, my name is Ashton Voss. I run an AI development and consulting company that helps businesses implement voice AI solutions to save time, cut costs, and drive growth. So without further ado, let's jump straight into a quick course overview, and then we'll go straight into Vapi to build your very first assistant. Okay, and welcome to the complete Vapi masterclass. Now, before we dive into Vapi and into all the platforms, I just want to run you through what we're actually going to be covering throughout this entire Vapi masterclass. So let's get right into it. So first of all, what we're going to learn is we're going to learn a 6-module journey from core concepts to professional deployment agents, all using Vapi AI. So module 1 is going to be about the foundations. So an introduction to what Vapi is and what actually is it, and then going into the assistance tab, so actually how to design your agents, look at all the settings, how to customize your agent. We're going to be going all into that stuff in module 1 right there, right? And then from here, we have module 2, which is going to be expanding the toolkit. So we're going to be going into the tools section, looking up all the API sections, looking up all the tools inbuilt into Vapi, how the tool section actually works, etc., giving you a comprehensive overview so you can actually understand it. Then from here, we're going to go into the voice library, which is essentially how to customize your voice on your AI agent, how to look up custom voices on 11 Labs, etc. And then we're going to go into files and integrations with RAG, so giving your agents knowledge base and attaching files to your Vapi assistants and voice AI agents. Then from there, in module 3, we're going to go into advanced architecture. So we're going to be covering workflows, which is essentially an advanced way to create a voice AI agent that's a little bit different from assistants. We're going to be going into squads, which is essentially teams of voice AI agents, and they work to handle different requests together. And then finally, we're also going to be covering API keys as well in that section. Module 4 is actually where we're going to take everything that we've learned in the previous modules and we're going to put it into real builds. So we're going to go into some practice fields. We're going to be covering 3 different Vapi agents. 1 is going to be an inbound appointment setter. 2 is going to be an outbound speed to lead. And then 3 is going to be an outbound mass campaign agent, which essentially is going to outreach to thousands and thousands of numbers. So again, we're covering all the different types of Vapi voice AI agents you can cover, and then also how to connect the numbers as well. Then from here, module 5 is going to be observe, test, and refine. So we're going to be diving deep into the observe section, how to look at core logs, how to look at all the analytics, how to test your agents using the inbuilt Vapi features as well. And then from here, module 6, we're just going to be doing a little bit of admin, so how Vapi's billing actually works, and then a quick conclusion on everything. So that's the quick 6-module outline of everything and everything you're going to be covering inside this course. And by the end of this video, you will have a complete idea on how to learn, build, and deploy really professional grade voice AI agents using Vapi AI. So without further ado, let's get into module 1. We're going to take you through the foundation of Vapi and then also the assistance tab and actually creating these agents. And welcome to Vapi. And if this is your first time on Vapi, don't worry, I'm going to be explaining all of these different little sections and features inside Vapi so you can get a full idea of actually how this platform works. But before we do that, we're going to be diving into what Vapi actually is. Now, I've got a little diagram of here. I've covered this in a lot of other videos, but if this is your first time watching it, this is essentially what Vapi is. So Vapi takes all of the features you see here, such as DeepGram, OpenAI, your prompt, OpenAI, and 11 Labs, and they package it into one voice AI software and solution, which essentially you can actually go ahead and build your voice agents in. So these are all the components that make up AI voice agents. We've got Twilio, which is the phone number that the customer calls if it's an inbound agent or an outbound agent. We've got capturing the user's input, which is going to be ASR, which is automatic speech recognition. And then from there, we have the natural language processing, which is the LLM, which is OpenAI. We've got our prompt, and our prompt will help our AI agent make the decision making and the task execution, whether that's to N8N or make.com. And then we've got generating response, which is also done by the LLM. And then finally, we have the TTS model and 11 Labs, which essentially puts that speech back into the phone number. So essentially, all that Vapi is just packaging that platform and packaging all of these things together right here. So now that you understand actually what Vapi is and how it works, let's dive into the assistant tab right here. So again, we're going to be going into the assistance tab and actually getting an understanding on all the settings and actually how to create an assistant. But don't worry, we're not going to be creating an assistant just yet. We have a dedicated build section. We're going to be running through kind of the basic features, the basic settings, the different types of agents within Vapi, and then we're going to have a dedicated build section so you can actually go ahead and build all the agents. So essentially how Vapi works is, as you can see down the side here, we have all of these settings. Now, Vapi markets itself as a developer-faced voice AI platform for creating voice agents. So we have the build section right here, which is essentially building voice agents. So we've got assistants, which is just singular prompt agents, I like to call them, simple singular prompt agents. We've got the tool section, which is gets all our tools. As you can see, I've got a bunch of tools right here. We've got the phone numbers where you can actually deploy these agents on phone numbers. We've got a voice library as well. And then we've got API keys as well. Also, we've got squads, which is essentially a range of voice AI agents talking to each other. We've got workflows, outbound files, integrations, and then from here we have the observe category. So this is where we can test our agent. We can see analytics, etc. And we can also have test suites. We can create automatic testing within our voice agents, etc. So that's essentially how Vapi is split up. We've got the build section and then we've got the observe section as well. But first, let's get into the assistants tab right here. And I'm going to be running you through how to actually create the assistants and what all the different settings mean inside this part. So first of all, up the top right here, this is where you'll create your assistant. We have a dedicated section to this, so don't worry. Here you can name your assistant. So whatever type of name you want your assistant to be, that's going to be the name, right? And then from here, we have all of the different templates. So they've got an appointment scheduler, they've got an info collector, they've got care coordinators, they've just quick templates they can go ahead and experiment with. But for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be going to an agent that I've already built right here. So that's how you essentially create an assistant. It's very simple, right? And once you load in and you create an assistant, this is going to be the dashboard we have. And don't worry, I'm going to be explaining all of the different little tools and settings, everything up here in detail inside this section. Before we do that, this is going to be where all your agents are stored. As you can see, some have the name, some have the agent ID, which is what this little thing is. This can be very useful when we're creating outbound calls in different automation platforms, etc. So this right here is the agent ID up here. Then we've also got the docs section. So this will take you towards Vapi docs. Essentially, you can see everything in here, which is going to be the documentation section up here, right? And then from there, you can also create a folder with different types of agents. So say if you wanted inbound agents, right, you might want to take inbound agents and create a folder and then put your inbound agents under there as well. That's just a quick overview of here. But now let's actually dive deep into the assistance tab right here. So the very first thing up the top is the cost and the latency. Now you can see that the cost is broken down into some of these aspects. Now, if we come back to here, we can see how, going back to my point, this is how Vapi packages all of its things together. And essentially how they make money is they have a set cost, which is Vapi's cost, that allows you to go into your platform, right? Whereas compared to something like retail is just a markup on some of the things, right? Where Vapi has their set cost, right? So if you've used retail, that's just how the pricing works. So essentially how the pricing works is it's broken up into different components of the voice agent. So as we can see, the voice agent has different parts. They've got DeepGram, they've got the LLM, they've got the prompt, they've got 11 labs, right? So Vapi essentially comes in and it packages it all together, and that's how you can get the breakdown of the cost. So as we can see, we've got Vapi's hard cost, which is going to be 5 cents per minute. We've got DeepGram's cost, which is the transcription model right here, which is going to be their cost, right? And you can see this is just their base cost of the LLM, and then Vapi just has their set USD cost, right? For using their platform, right? And then we have the GPT 4.1 mini, which is the LLM, and then we have the voice, which is also Vapi's voice right here. And what you'll notice is that this will fluctuate and move. For example, if we go Google or Anthropic right here, we can see that the price is actually going to change. As you can see, 11 minutes, right? So we can see these are going to change based on everything right here. So the prices are constantly going to be changing based on the provider you're going with. But I'm just going to be doing OpenAI for this example right here, right? So that's essentially how the cost is breaking down. So when you change the LLM, when you change the voice model, the transcription model, these are going to change, right? So that's essentially the cost of your agent, and how it's billed on your card. It is going to be cents per minute. So however long your agent is active for in minutes, right? That's how it's going to be billed. So it's very, very cheap in Vapi, of course, compared to a real person if you're building or comparing this, right? And then from here, we have the latency. So this is essentially how long it takes for when the agent gets response or has spoken to the customer to when it gets a response. So that's how long the latency is. So for example, on average, you'll get your latency probably around, you want to get a little bit lower than this, but around a second, right? So you can see right here, these calculations are estimates and they may not reflect the actual latency of the assistant. So again, it's just how long this assistant takes to respond to you once you've spoken, right? So we can see the latency is also broken up through here, right? Because when we're making API calls to these tools, when we're making API calls to the LLM, that incurs latency, and it's all a few milliseconds, and that's how Vapi packages it up in one, right? So we can see that's how the latency is broken down. So it's about, for this specific example, it's about under 2 seconds. So if we go into OpenAI and we change the model right here, let's just do GPT-4.1, right? And you can see how the latency is going to change based on that model. So you can see, boom, it changes right there. So that's essentially how everything's broken up. Right, so now that we've got that covered out the way, let's get into the model. This is where a very, very important part, which is essentially configuring the behavior of your assistant. So up here, this is the provider. Again, this is the provider of your LLM. Now, a quick tip here is you can change this based on the task of your LLM. I would recommend using OpenAI. It's the most efficient and it's the most cost-effective LLM. But a good example for this, maybe if you want an agent with more reasoning, right? Or you want an agent with a larger LLM context window, you might switch that to Google or Anthropic or another LLM, right? For example. So that's how you can change your provider up here. And Vapi offer all these different providers right here in different LLMs. And then from here, we have the model of the provider. So for example, I'm using OpenAI, and these are all the models that Vapi have right here. You can see they've got multimodal, they've got balance, they've got different settings and different tags on top of the model right there. So that's how you can customize the model right there. And you can see we benchmark and rank 20 models and instances across Azure, OpenAI for GPT-4 picking the fastest and at one in any moment. So again, that's how you can configure the model with the provider. So if we go to Claude, we can see we can change. It's going to have all the Claude's models right there. That's essentially the provider and the model, so we can choose all the LLMs. And then from here, we have the first assistant mode. So there's two types of modes, right? There's assistant speaks first, and then assistant waits for the user, and then assistant speaks with a model-generated message. So this model-generated message right here is going to be generated by the AI based on the prompt, right? And then assistance waits for user is very useful when we're doing outbound calls. So for example, if you're making an outbound call to someone, it's useful having this setting on because when you're making an outbound call, usually the person picking up answers first, right? So that's how you can change the assistant message mode based on the type of outbound call you're making. And then of course, assistant speaks first is for an inbound call when someone's calling in. So that's all the different types of first assistant messages mode right there, right? And then from here, obviously, based on what you have, right, based on what we selected, that's going to be the first message. So again, if it's assistant speaks first, this is going to be the first message of the assistant that is going to be happening each time someone calls the voice agent. So again, that can be really anything. If you have it as that, then it's just going to generate something and that won't really matter, but let's just select as that, right? And then from here, this is this system prompt. So essentially, this defines the role of the AI agent, how it's going to be speaking to the customer, what its main task is going to be doing. Is it checking availability? Is it booking appointments? Is it looking up CRM information? Is it qualifying leads? So this is a very, very important part right here. And essentially, this is the system prompt. So this is a good example of what a current system prompt might look like. And I'll run you through in depth what this actually is, but you will be learning later in this video actually how to design an agent step by step. I'm going to be taking you through step by step, but I'll run you through the prompt very quickly. So as I said, again, it's used to obviously define the role, define the personality, define the instructions, and what it's going to be doing right here. So up here, we have the role. For example, you are Sophia, a concierge for a crown cuts and style studio, a modern salon and barber lounge. Your persona is friendly, approachable, stylish, and confident. Your primary function is to provide a smooth and trendy booking experience. So we have the role of the AI agent and then also its persona and how it should be talking. Then from here, we have the current time. Now, this is a very useful feature in Vapis because we can essentially put in dynamic variables to auto-populate the current time right now. And this is very useful for booking in appointments. So it's a very, very useful feature right here. So we can put in the current time, and we can put in what we call dynamic variables inside Vapi, right? And don't worry, we will have a section where we'll actually go in depth about all the different dynamic variables and how it works as well, right? But I'm just going to give you a general overview on what a prompt might look like for an agent. For example, this is an inbound agent for a salon and barbershop. So this is what an example prompt would look like, right? So defining the agent and what it's going to be doing in the conversation for a salon. And then right here, we have the task. So in this example, this task is just going to be around checking availability and booking in appointments. So again, we have number 1, which is greeting and service inquiry. Greet the caller warmly, stating your name and the salon's name, right? Ask what service they'd like. Is it a haircut? Is it a beard trim? Is it a color styling? Right? What are you doing? Right? What's the first step of the conversation? Then from here, we have check availability. So again, this is how the AI agent is going to check availability within a calendar. And by the way, if you do want a full prompt guide for voice agents, I do have one on my channel. It's called Mastering Voice AI Prompt Guide. So you can go ahead and watch that and you'll master voice AI prompting with that video. I'll put it up in the little icon section if you want to watch it and you want to come back to this video as well. So that's how you can actually go ahead and check availability. And then from here, we can see these are all the steps for that step. So this is what we call chain of thought prompting. So again, we're giving the agent a task, and then we're step by step mapping through how the agent should speak throughout the conversation. So we can see step 1, greeting service inquiry, step 2, checking availability, step 3, and we have all the different steps for that particular step. So that's what we call chain of thought prompting. And this is where we will mention our tools. So essentially, we've got a dedicated section to tools, which I'll run into later. But this is where you can mention your tools and mention to the agent what it needs to be doing. For example, checking availability. This could run a tool to check availability in a calendar, and then vice versa for appointment bookings. So you can see how for different stages inside the voice AI's conversation, we can prompt it to collect the name, to collect the last name, and to collect the email, etc. Right? And then from here, you can see we have another custom dynamic variables. Again, this is a good, simple example prompt of this Vapi agent, which is going to be the customer number right here, right? So that's just a quick rundown of actually the task and what everything is doing, right? And then from here, we have the context. So again, giving the agent a little bit of context about the business, right? This is very important. So for whatever business it is, this is very good to have in the prompt. Again, that's just a quick overview. And then finally, we have an example conversation / scenario. So again, this is good when we're giving the agent a little bit of context about how a conversation might go. It enhances the responses. And then also when we are mentioning the tools as well. So we can actually mention the tools inside an example conversation / scenario so the agent knows when to call those tools in the actual scenario. So again, this is just an example conversation for a barbershop and salon. And then finally, we have important notes. So leaving the agent with important notes at the end of the prompt is very important because it's one of the last things it sees. Again, if you go ahead and click up the little icon thing in the top right, you can see a full guide on prompting, and you can actually learn about how to effectively prompt voice agents. But again, I'm just running you through a quick example in Vapi right here, right? So again, we've got use everyday conversational language. The whole purpose of this is just to make it more conversational, right? So again, we're adding in, prompt engineering, light fillers, natural fillers like like, where it fits, etc. So that's just around some of the important notes right here. Now we're going to get onto files. Now, don't worry, I'm going to skip this section right here. I've got a dedicated section where we actually dive in, to this right here, which is going to be files in Vapi. I'm going to show you how to effectively create knowledge bases. But don't worry about that. This is essentially where you can attach your file. So after we go through this section here, you'll know actually what files are, how it actually works in voice agents, right? And then from there, this is where you can add your files into Vapi right here, right? Then we have max tokens. So this is essentially the maximum number of tokens the agent can generate when generating a response. So how tokens is measured, think about it as in like the amount of words the agent could speak. So again, 250 is just a general rule of thumb of how many tokens the agent should generate. It just generally makes it more short and concise in its responses. So again, if you have it up higher, it's going to be generating up to a macwards of 2,000 tokens, right? So again, we just want it around 250. So you can see right here that the token, this is the max number of tokens the assistant will be allowed to generate in each turn of conversation, right? So that's just the AI way of saying words and characters. Then from here, we have the temperature. So this essentially decides the creativeness of your voice AI agent. If you have it up higher, it's going to be more random in its responses. If you have it up lower, it's going to stick more to its prompt and it's going to be more, rigid and strict, right? So you just want it probably around here. You still want it to have a little bit of emotion, still be creative, but around 4 or 5 is generally a pretty good rule of thumb for your voice agent, right? And then we have the voice configuration right here. So this is where you can customize your voice AI agent. Now, I won't go too in depth with this. I'll give a quick overview because we do have a little section covering our voice library right here, which is what I'm going to dive into. But again, we're just covering the general rule of thumb for agents, and you will learn how to customize this in the later builds that we have. But I think it's a good idea to get a beginner's understanding on all these settings first, right? So we have the provider right here. So we can actually select this and we can see all the different types of voice providers it is. Now, this is specifically going to be the TTS model. So text to speech right here. So you can see how we are packaging everything up in this little diagram and it can relate to this, right? So as you can see, we've got 11 labs, we've got Cartesian, we've got Vapi's inbuilt voices, but I recommend obviously 11 labs. You can see they've got a bunch of different voices. You can import the voices manually by their voice ID. You can come up to the voice library, which I'll get into later. So you can see these are all the different types of voices we can have attached to our AI agent in Vapi. Now, a good little point here for a use case is you want to select a voice that is obviously native to whatever language or whatever accent or whatever country your voice AI agent is speaking with. So for example, if you were to go 11 labs right here, you want to actually look at the voice and you want to pick a voice that has like maybe an American accent. So I'm not sure if I'm not sure if it'll allow us, but as you can see, if we search American, we'll be able to find an American accent right there. So again, that's a little quick tip when you're designing your voices for your agent. You want it to be naturally in the language you know, or the country you want it in, right? And then from here, this is the model. So this is very important for a few things. You can customize the model based on the conversation. For example, if you wanted a multilingual agent, you can actually customize that model. For example, you could have 11 Labs multilingual right here, which is going to allow the agent to speak a range of different languages, right? Or if you have an 11 Turbo 2.V, V2, it'll only speak one language, but it's specific for that model. So you can see we've got all the different models right here. We've got 11 Labs Flash, so you can actually go ahead and pick the model you want based on your voice agent. So you can see how Vapi allows us to have this high level of complexity right here. Awesome. And then from here, we have additional configurations. So this is where we can even go more in depth and actually play around with our speech settings, right? So we can see we have background sounds. You can change it to office, default, custom. Again, a good use case for, say, if you were building an agent for a restaurant, you know, you might want it on default, or you had an agent for a call center, you might want it on office, right? So you can actually customize the background sound in which your agent is speaking right here. And then you can also put in custom background sounds URL. So it must have a public URL with an audio file, and you must select custom right here. And that's how you can put in custom URLs. Input minimum characters. So again, this is the minimum number of characters that will be passed to the voice provider. This helps it decide its minimum chunk size that is sent to the voice provider for the voice generation as the LLM tokens are streaming in. And then from here, we have punctuation boundaries. Sorry, punctuation boundaries. These are punctuation boundaries that are considered valid boundaries of the determinators, right? This helps decide the chunks that are sent to the voice provider for voice generation as the LLM tokens are streaming in. So again, this just puts in some punctuation boundaries that actually can't go into the LLM and the voice provider right here, or it just helps it in a sense, right? Then from here, this is where we can adjust the voice a little bit further. So if we have it up higher, it's going to be more stable. So as you can see, increasing stability will make the voice generate more consistent, right? And if we have it more variable, it'll be more emotional, right? So again, it'll be more expressive in its output. So again, if you have it down low, it's going to be very emotional and outgoing. And then if you have it up, you know, around here, it's going to be right in the middle. So just keep it right in the middle. That's essentially what it means. Clarity plus simile, right? If you have it in lower values, right, the background artifacts are present in generated speech. And then if you have it up higher, you can see that the enhancement speed boosts overall voice clarity and target speaker similarity. Very high values can cause artifacts, so adjusting this setting to find optimal value is encouraged. Then from here, we have the speed. This is essentially just the speed of your voice AI agent. Again, you can play around with all of these settings. It's really just dependent on the type of voice agent you're building. If you have it slower, it's going to speak slower. If you have it faster. So again, just have it probably around 1, which is just the average, which is fine. Style exaggeration. So you can see if you have it up higher, it's going to be more exaggerated in its speech, right? Compared to the uploaded audio, right? So you can have it in high. If you have it up high, it's going to be more exaggerated. If you have it down low, it's not going to be exaggerating in its speech. Optimize streaming latency. To be fair, I haven't really used this setting, so I'm not really sure what this means. This, I assume it's similar to retail, which just means optimizing the latency of the agent. So if you have it down lower, it's going to have less latency. I mean, you can probably see up the top if you change it. But again, I haven't really played around with this too much, just based on experience, just being honest. So, all right. And then from here, we have use speaker boost. So again, you can put this on and it can boost the similarity of synthesized speech and the voice at the cost of some generation speed. So again, if you have this up higher, the speed is going to be down lower because it needs to take more time to boost kind of the voice's volume, right? And then from here, we have auto mode, right? Which reduces latency for complete sentences, but may affect quality with partial phrases. So essentially, this is going to be fully optimizing the speech that the agent says. So it might cut out the front and the start of the agent to have optimized latency, right? So again, this may sacrifice the quality of the agent, but the latency is going to be a bit lower. So again, these are some of the settings that you can customize in there. So again, that covers just a little bit about the voice right there. Then we have the transcriber. So again, Vapi is a little bit to retail. If you've used retail, they actually already have their own inbuilt transcription model and they provide an upmark of it, right? But Vapi have DeepGram right here. Again, this is just this first part right here, which is doing the ASR and capturing the user's input and doing text to speech, right? So that's essentially how it's breaking down. You can actually go ahead and, again, customize the transcriber. So you can have OpenAI, but I would just recommend DeepGram. And this is where you need to make sure you have the different type of language, right? So whatever the main language that the agent's going to be in, make sure you customize this right here. And of course, then you can go ahead and customize the model. So it's very, very, very simple right here. Then from here, background denoising enabled. So this is essentially filtering out background noise when the agent is speaking. Now, I have used this feature, and it does work quite well. For example, if you're doing it for a home service company, or you have the home service company, right, and you're calling up a pool or you're calling up a fencer, right, whatever, right. They might be in a loud environment, so this is where you can switch this on, and it will essentially filter out the background noise and allow the user's speech to become more clear, right. So again, it just depends on the type of agent you are working with and actually what the calls are coming in, right? Then from here, confidence threshold. So transcripts with a confidence score below it, the threshold will be filtered out. So again, I have not really used this. This is just with yeah. Again, I really have not used this. I don't have too much experience. I actually don't know what this is. But yeah. Right, then we have use numerals. So again, I know what this is. So convert numbers from words to digits using transcription. So again, this essentially will mean when someone is saying like 3, right? It's going to say 3 in words, right? Instead of numbers in transcription. So you can actually go ahead and switch this on. Again, I don't have much experience with this, so I don't really know what that is. Right there, right? And because I mainly use retail. But Vapi is still good, obviously, but I don't really know what this is inside Vapi. They might have just added it. So again, you can switch this on to convert words to digits in transcription, right? And then from here, this is tools. So I'm going to leave this section for now because we're going to be diving deep into tools. But essentially, it's kind of structured a little bit different inside retail versus Vapi. If you open up this, you can only add tools in which you've created from this dedicated tool section. Where there's retail, you can do it inbuilt within the voice agent builder itself. So this is where you're going to be adding any of its tools. So for example, we'll go into a dedicated section right here. But this essentially means adding in a book appointment tool, adding in a check availability tool, add in all your tools right here. As you can see, these are all my tools right here within my account. Predefined functions. We'll build predefined functions for most common use cases right here. So this is, again, you can just adjust more tools. So again, enable end call function. This allows the agent to end call automatically. Dial keypad, right? You can actually put in a dial keypad and then forwarding phone number. So for example, this can be when it can be forwarding calls to the specific phone number right here. So those are some of the predefined functions. Then we have custom functions right here, which is essentially the same thing as the tools up here, right? So because they were functions originally and now they're changing it to tools. All right, so that covers the tool section. That's where we're going to be adding in the tools, but we have a dedicated section to creating tools and showing you what example tools actually look like and how that actually works. And then we have analysis. So again, we can analyze the conversation of the call. So right here, we can see this is where we're going to be prompting the agent on how to analyze the call. So right, this is the prompt that is used to summarize the call, and the output is stored in call.analysis.summary. You can also find the summary in the call logs page right here. So for example, let's say you were doing it for, I don't know, a home service company, right? And you wanted to prompt the agent on how to summarize the conversation. You could say, you were an expert note taker for, right? Or you could say like you were an expert summary, you were an expert summary note taker for a fencer or a plumber, for example. You must summarize the conversation and analyze if the call has been successful or not, and give an overall thesis on what has happened, right? So again, this is really custom towards the industry if you want to have calls that are summarized after the conversation, right? Summary transcript request timeout in seconds. This is, again, if you have it up, this is going to increase the timeout of the transcript in seconds, and if you have it down lower, it's going to decrease it. Minimum number of messages to trigger analysis. So that's the minimum number of messages back and forth between the customer and the agent to trigger the analysis, right? So if you have it up higher, it's going to be upwards of 6 messages. And then if you have it down lower, it's going to be obviously lower for that limit. And then we have success evaluation. So again, you can evaluate if the call was successful using the rubric standalone or in combination with success evaluation prompt. So again, you can see right here, this is an example Vapi has. You're an expert call evaluator. You'll be given a transcript of a call and a system prompt of the AI participant, and you must determine the call if it is successful based on the objectives inferred from the prompt. So this is a very important thing, right? If you do switch this on, make sure in the prompt you have the objectives to define what the AI is, if it is a example, if it is a successful conversation. So essentially you could have this right here. You could have objectives right here, and then you could do like if the call is successful, if the user books a appointment, right? So now the agent knows, I'm just doing this quickly, but now the agent knows what a successful call would look like, right? So you can either add it in there, or you could either add it inside, here within the success evaluation. Right, and then from here we have success evaluation rubric. So again, this just enforces the rubric of the evaluation upon successful evaluation. So again, you can either have a prompt to summarize it, or you can use this evaluation rubric right here. So again, a checklist of the criteria and their status, a scale of excellent or good or fair. So you can see how you can customize this. So based on which one you would select, that's the overall evaluation rubric the agent is going to produce. Okay, then we have success evaluation request and timeout seconds. So again, that just increases the timeout of how long it will take. All right, if we come back, almost done here. Structured data. Now, this is where you can extract data structured from a call conversation. You can use the data schema in a standalone or in combination with the data prompt. If both are provided, they are a consonanted into appropriate instructions. Again, I've never used this, but this is essentially prompting the agent to extract certain variables and extract certain things from the transcript that you can be used in structured data from the call conversation. So again, I haven't used this. I've only used the success evaluation actually for this right here, for when we're sending, summaries and evaluations of the call. And then we have privacy. So this is a very, very important part and section. So in Vapi, it has inbuilt privacy. So for example, for HIPAA, this is, I believe that's medical, right? Medical compliance right there. So this is very important in a lot of medical industries when, you might be designing for a dental clinic, etc. And when someone's calling the agent, you can actually put this on and it's going to be completely compliant with HIPAA, right? So it's not going to store any call logs. It's not going to store any important information in the transcript. So this is very important when we're doing security with a lot of these voice AI agents right here. Call recording, this is essentially where you can switch on and off your call recording inside Vapi. Logging, so again, enable or disable logging during the call. Disable this on assistance to keep its portion of the squad conversation private. So again, that's how you can enable logging. Transcript, obviously pretty self-explanatory. If you have it off, it's not going to log the transcript. And if you have it on, it is going to log the transcripts. Now, so depending on the voice agent, if you have this off, please keep in mind if you do have it off, you won't actually be able to see the transcript inside the agent. So if it does break, you're going to have some limitations around actually testing the agent, going into the agent, looking up the transcript, looking where it might have gone wrong. So again, of course, you have to be compliant with whatever policy you're dealing with, but please make sure you do switch this off. You're going to have a lot of limitations around actually testing the agent and seeing the transcript and what it does, right? And then from here, we have audio recording format. So choose the format that the call recordings is in. So essentially, after each call is made, it's going to create a recording call format that you can actually go ahead and evaluate. So if you have this off, it's obviously not going to be on there right here. But again, you can either do it in a WAV file or MP3. Doesn't really matter, right? Enable video recording. So you can enable or disable video recording during a web call. This will record the video of your user. Now, I just have this off. There's really no point, as it is a voice call. There's no really point of doing this, right? And then we have start speaking plan. So again, this is how you can customize the actual speaking plan of the agent, again, in the advanced settings. So if you have this up, if you have this section up higher, this is how long the assistant waits before speaking. So for example, let's say in a, I'm just thinking of an example. Let's say in an inbound call, someone calls you up, the agent answers, and the person doesn't say anything, right? You can have this customized. So again, the agent will wait up to 3 seconds before speaking, or 1 second right here. So again, just probably leave it around 1.5 seconds. That's really what I recommend. Enable smart endpointing. So again, enable for more accurate speech endpoint detection, and LiveKit is available in only English. I have never used this, so I don't really know what that means, but I think it means enable more accurate speech endpoint detection. Yeah, I'm really not sure what that means. I haven't really used it again. So I'll kind of skip over that because I haven't used it. And then from here, we have the on punctuation settings right here. So minimum seconds to wait after the transcript is ended with punctuation. So again, if you have it up higher, it's going to wait longer. If you have it down lower, it's not going to wait as long, right? On no punctuation seconds. So the minimum seconds to wait after the transcript ending without punctuation. Again, exact same thing, but that's just after and that's just before. And then from here, on number seconds, so minimum number of seconds to wait after transcript ending with a number. So again, if you have it up higher, it's going to generate the transcription after the agent has ended with a number. So that covers that section right here. And we're almost done. We have voicemail detection. So again, you can have this on and off. For example, if you're making outbound calls, this is very useful. Say if the call goes to voicemail, then you can actually turn this on and put it onto Vapi's, and then you can customize the section even further, right? So that's how you can add voicemail detection. You can add it in by Google, OpenAI, or Twilio. But again, you can actually customize this and flick it on, and then you have all the different settings right here. So you've got delay before the first detection check, interval between detection checks, limit on decision time. So essentially, Vapi's AI is checking to see if it actually is a voicemail or not, right? So this is very important in outbound calls. I would recommend switching this on. And then we have stop speaking plan. So this is the plan for when the assistant should stop talking, right? After a number of words, after a number of voice seconds, or after a back off second. So for example, you could have this up. If the agent has spoken 10 words, it'll stop speaking, but just have this as 0. There's no point. But this is where you can customize the voice seconds. So the seconds the customer has to speak before the assistant stops talking. So this is very useful for when we are allowing the agent to interrupt, right? So for example, if someone speaks up to 3 seconds, then the assistant is going to stop talking. If the person only speaks up to 1 second, then it's going to stop talking. So this just essentially can customize how sensitive the agent is when it's going to stop talking and all the interruption patterns. Back off seconds. This is the seconds to wait before the assistant will start talking again after being interrupted. So if you have that higher up, it's going to be obviously a larger number of backup seconds, and if you have it down low, it's going to be lower. All right, awesome. Call timeout settings. So this is essentially you can customize whether the assistant should end the call based on silence or duration. Now you need to have this on, right? So how I normally do it with clients is when I'm demoing or when I get a general overview of the conversation, I can then kind of get a good estimate on how long a successful call should last. So for example, with your average appointment booking agent, usually the conversations last anywhere between 2.5 minutes to maybe upwards of 3 minutes, depending on the conversation and the information it needs to collect. So with this in mind, I would add probably about a 30-second, maybe to a minute buffer on top of that. So let's just say when you're testing your agent, you figure out that the agent's average conversation time is half a minute, right? Then you might want to add in another minute or a minute and a half, and that will kind of be your maximum call duration for the agent right here. And this is done in seconds, right? So you can calculate, I believe it's 300 seconds or whatever. That would probably be, a few minutes. So you can kind of customize that based on the conversation you've kind of defined, okay? And then from here, key input settings. So this is just for an IVR system, right? Accept the user's input via the keypad. So you can have this switched on, and then when they call it based on the number, it's going to route to your agent. But I've never used this before personally. Then we have messaging. So messaging configuration for messages that are sent to and from the assistant. So you can put in your server URL right here. So this is essentially where you can have an API example for your functions. So I'm pretty sure this is the configuration that has been sent to and from the system. So if you put in a webhook here, it's going to send that summary information to this server URL settings right here inside the messaging platform. So you can see if we come right here, paste it in, you can see that'll be the messaging section right here for that particular agent. So, right. And then compliance, this is an enterprise plan, and then we've got a widget. So again, you can add this conversational widget to your website. So this makes it very easy for you to deploy code to your website. So people and so different customers coming to your website can speak to your agent. So you can have this in the bottom as a chat widget, and they can click on it and they can actually talk to your voice agent if you want to deploy it. Then we have structured output. So this is a new thing that they have added. So you can automatically extract specific data from conversations after each call. So if you add a structured output right here, it will take you into this section. And then you can add all these different outputs, right? So you can add tracks if the customer booked an appointment, tracks if the customer canceled an appointment, track if the customer booked an appointment, or the status, right? So that's how you can know, you can customize all those different things right here. So that's going to be it for this section. We covered everything inside Vapi and all the different settings. So you now should have a full understanding of how this assistant tab actually works. Now we're going to dive into all of these sections right here, which is going to be the tools, phone number, and voice library as well. So let's get right into it. Let's come down to the tools. So as I said, the purpose of these tools is we can define tools based on the different types of agents we're building. So for example, if it was a check availability agent or a book an appointment agent, we might want two tools. We might want a check an appointment and a book appointment as well. And once we create those tools, we can then add them into our section within the tool section right here. So that's essentially how it works. Now, before we do that, let's run through all the inbuilt tools that Vapi have, because they have quite a lot of inbuilt tools. So first of all, this is a custom tool. This is probably one of the most, this is probably one of the most common tools we're going to use, because this is where we can actually send information to automation services. And I'll get onto how that works a little bit later once we dive into kind of the more custom tools section. All right. And then we've got DTMF right here. So this is essentially a DTMF tool. I have never used this before, so I actually don't know what it is. It is actually, I think, a calendar tool. I'll put a little text of actually what it is. I've never used this. Then we have a query tool. So this is essentially we can query the web for anything. So we can query knowledge bases. We can query any types of things. So this is very useful when we have a large knowledge base for our agent, and we can put a little query tool on top as well. Then we have an end call tool. This is essentially creating an end call tool for our agent, giving the ability the agent to actually end the call. So right here in the description, we can name the tool, we can name the purpose of the tool. Then we have transfer calls. So this allows the agent to transfer to a number. So for example, you can have this in caps. This tool is used to transfer. And by the way, what's actually happening in the background of this agent is this description is going into the LLM, right? So it's giving a little bit of context around what this actual tool is used for. So again, have a short, concise, simple description. So just to let the agent know and to let the LLM know what the purpose of this tool is. And then from here, you can configure the destination. So you can do it as a phone number. And then this is where you can write in all your phone numbers to actually go ahead and enable call transferring. So that's a very important feature right here, right? Delete that. Awesome. Then we have handoff. I believe this is an inbuilt handoff to different agents. Yep. So you can hand that off to different agents within your own Vapi tool, right? Then we have send text. So this is essentially you can send text with the number that you have, right? So you can actually go ahead and use this send text tool as an inbuilt function. So this is very useful. You could have a send text tool after you have booked an appointment. So Vapi will allow you to send the text of the tool. Then from here, we have API requests. Again, this is very similar to the functions tab, but this is a dedicated feature for API requests. Now, the difference between API requests and the custom functions is the custom functions are most likely going to be used for N8N and make.com and sending variables. And then API requests is API request for certain platforms. So for example, you can have a request URL for go high level. You can have it a request URL for any public API. So this is the difference between an API request and a custom function is they'll be used more for webhooks and API requests will be used more for creating API requests for different custom softwares and public APIs right there. And then we have MCP servers. This is essentially a way you can attach MCP servers to your agent to give it the ability to host all the different tools underneath your MCP as well right there. So that's where you put your server URL section. In N8N, you can actually create an MCP server. Essentially, you can just host all your tools right there rather than having different tools and functions. We have Slack. This is an inbuilt integration within Slack. So you can make any API changes to Slack inbuilt without actually having to connect your own Slack account, doing it the manual way. We've got Google Sheets right here. This allows you to attach Google Sheets onto your agent, and you can enter in the spreadsheet ID. You can enter in the range. So again, you could put in information to a Google Sheet. You could put in everything right there, right? Then we have Google Calendar. So again, using an inbuilt module in Vapi to create events and check availability. Now, the whole purpose of this is we actually can create inbound or we can create native integrations in Vapi rather than having to go to N8N and connect it. So that's a very, very useful feature about Vapi. Probably compared to retailers, they have a little bit more integrations right here. So you can create calendar events, you can check calendar availability, you can create contacts and create, and then you can also get contacts as well. So that's going to be specifically for high level. Now, with that being said, let's actually dive into an example of a custom function because you're going to be using a lot of custom functions, end calls, and then also transfer calls as well if you do decide to use it. So let's actually go into this example check appointment workflow. So essentially, as I said, what is happening in the background is we're giving a tool call to the agent. Once it makes that tool call, it's going to collect certain variables and certain parameters from the transcript, and it's going to send it over to what we call a webhook address. Now, in this example, this is an N8N webhook address. Usually you'll have either Make, N8N, Zapier, or whatever automation platform you're using. That's essentially the server settings right there. So again, we're giving a description to the AI agent and actually the AI about what the purpose of this tool is for. And then we also have the tool name up here, which is going to be check appointment. So make sure this tool name is the exact same in your assistance tab as well. Then the server URL settings, again, it's collecting all of the parameters and it's sending it to that server URL. So as we can see, for a check appointment or a check availability, right, we would just have the example time. So we can see we can add parameters in that Vapi need to collect and need to send to this server URL to actually go ahead and process the automations. Now, you will see what this full breakdown looks like in the 3 builds that we're going to cover as well. So that's essentially what a function would look like. Again, then we have a book appointment function, a same thing, but it's just for book appointments. So you can see we're collecting details we need to book an appointment, which is going to be the time, the email, the address, and the full name as well. So that kind of covers our complete tool section right here. We covered all the tools, and then we actually also covered how they work as well. Now let's go on to the voice library. So this is where you can explore all the different voices. As we can see, I think this is dedicated to 11 Labs at the moment. You've got 11 Labs, you've got Cartesia, right? And this is where you'll actually be able to search different voices and different accents right here. So you can see you want female, you want Indonesian, you want African American, whatever you want, right? So you can actually go ahead and filter everything right here. Just click X out of there. This is where you can filter any voices. So I believe this is an inbuilt function in between the public library for 11 Labs right here. So you can actually listen to all the different types of agents if you want. We click play
Ele
at
disse
one of
para
them.
mim umas 3 vezes que não adianta tentar educar.
You can see that's a Portuguese voice right there. So yeah, you can see you can filter all the voices, right? So again, you can clone voices, you can add in different files and audio files, and 11 Labs will use AI to clone your voice, right? And then you can also add in custom voices. So this is where you can search up the 11 Labs library. So again, I'll just do an example, just search up anything. So essentially, you can go over to the 11 Labs voice library right here. And this can be very good for finding voices that you actually need. So for example, you might want to search in the filters. You might want to search accent or languages, right? Maybe you want someone in French, right? Apply filters. Right, and then you can search the French voice that you want, right? So that's essentially how you can add in, and you can use 11 Labs' entire library to get that as well. All right, so that's essentially covers the voice AI library there. All right, now we're going to be moving on to the next session, which is going to be covering more of the advanced features. We're going to be covering squads, and we're also going to be covering outbound workflows and files as well. Okay, now let's dive into the file section. Essentially, this is allowing your voice AI agent to have knowledge, right? To have knowledge base. And a good use case for this is when we often don't have enough space in the prompt, or it might cause hallucination. We can actually add files. So you can upload PDF files, you can upload all these different types of things. Now, if we go into the Twilio, if we go into the Vapi docs, we can see, right? These are all the different types of files that are supported. We've got text, PDF, docs, etc. Then you can go ahead and actually upload it to give your agent knowledge. So by doing this, your agent will automatically refer to the files when they're asking any questions. Maybe it's about pricing, services, opening hours, etc. So this is where you can add in and give your agent extra knowledge, essentially, right? So there are two ways to add these files, right? Is you can either do it by the inbuilt section right here, or you can do it through the API section, right? So you can have an API request, and this will be a request to an external knowledge base. So this will be a request to maybe a Superbase, maybe a RAG system. So you could actually go ahead and make an API request to a RAG system, or you can use an inbuilt feature. So what I would recommend, this way is often more accurate if you have it to a RAG system, or you have it directly making API requests to another external system, where the database needs to be a lot longer. Then you can do it this way, or alternatively, if it's just a short, summary of the business information that helps the agent generally, maybe it's just opening hours, pricing, then you can use the inbuilt function right there. But that's essentially the two different ways you can use and upload knowledge inside your agent. So yeah, that's just a quick section about actually the files and what they mean. So again, it's very, very simple. Some of the benefits are improved accuracy. So your assistant can provide responses based on verified information rather than general knowledge in the prompt. Enhanced capability. So a knowledge base enables your agent to answer complex domain-specific queries with detailed contextuality relevant response right here. So contextually relevant responses. Customization with the knowledge base, you can tailor your assistant's response to specific domains, topics, making it more effective for your particular use case. And it also has update information as well. So that's just some of the benefits for adding in knowledge bases to your agents. Now let's actually dive into the workflow section. So again, if we come back here, we're going to be diving into the workflow section, which is going to be in module 3. So the real point of these workflow sections is a little bit different. So we have the assistants here, which is just generally one singular agent, right? With one singular purpose, with one singular prompt, right? So this is a simple way of doing the agent. But now if we come into the workflow sections, we can create kind of these conversational flow agents, right? This is far more useful for when we're doing complex agents with a bunch of different paths. So if we come in here, let's actually do an appointment scheduler agent, and we'll run through an example of what Vapi have given us. So you can see this might look a little bit complex, but really it's not. Again, the whole purpose is just essentially mapping out the conversation in kind of this little tree, little file, right? So if we come into what an example agent might look like, so we can see this is just a thing for a health clinic. So you can see the main difference here, right? The assistance is just one agent in kind of this static dashboard view, but in workflows, you can design kind of multiple agents in a sense, right? So you can see we've got multiple prompts And the real use case here is the accurateness of this different types of trees, which is what we call it. So you can see if the user wants to schedule an appointment, it's going to go down this path, right? So it's more definitive in its trees, right? If the user wants to reschedule or cancel, it'll go down this path, and etc. So this is where we can branch out different scenarios for our thing. And essentially how it works is we have this start node and global node, and then we can kind of filter all the different scenarios for all the different paths and possibilities of the conversation, if that makes sense. So it's more flexible and it gives us more flexibility over our agent. So for example, let's say you want to schedule a new appointment, right? Then we can have a prompt for that certain part of the conversation. So after Vapi has identified it's scheduled a new appointment, it'll then ask what type of customer it is, right? And then from there, if the user type is determined, proceed with the appointment. So we can see these are called kind of logic-based and conditional-based branches that we can add inside here within Vapi, right? And you can see how we're able to make our conversations far more structured. So if we just follow down here, we can see how Vapi have given us a example of actually following, logic-based kind of arguments within these little nodes right here. So you can see if the customer has defined a new appointment, it'll then use a, indicated urgent care. So we can see how we're adding all of these condition things right here. We've got user needs routine appointment. So you can see how you can add conditioning and you can filter based on the type of appointment, right? And then also another key thing to note about this workflow section is that you can actually have different prompts. So you can, have individual prompts for certain parts of the conversation rather than just the assistance tab, which is more of just one prompt for the entire conversation, right? I think assistance tab is still great. It still makes it very simplistic. But again, this is more for more advanced and more structured conversation agents. So that's really the key thing is you can have a lot of customizability over certain parts inside the agent right here. So you get the kind of overview where we can add in all these different prompts. Now, there's still a few more things we need to go through, which is going to be these variables right here. If we go into extract variables, this is where we will extract the variables for this type of conversation. So we can put in the type of variables that the agent needs to extract. So for example, appointment type, it needs to extract that variable for the appointment type to define what type of an appointment it is, and then urgency, right? So you can see how we can extract different information based on this certain part and particular part of the conversation. That's essentially a very important thing, and it's a little bit different, right? And then from here, you can customize the settings also. So just like we had in Vapi and the assistance tab, you can customize the transcriber for different parts of the conversation as well, right? So you can see you can customize the LLM model. Now, this can be very useful. Like, let's say, for example, maybe the customer wanted an urgent matter, right? Maybe if the customer was maybe stressed out or need to go an emergency, you could have an agent that has more reasoning, right? And is more understandable, right? It might take a little bit longer, but its responses will be more thought out and more clear in a sense. So that's essentially how you can do that, right? So you can customize these individual prompts. You can customize the LLM settings. You can customize the voice settings for these particular parts of conversations, right? And you can string it all together. So not only can you customize the prompt, you can customize the speech settings for all these different types of little variables right here, right? So that's essentially a quick overview of the workflow section as well. And then if we also come up to the top, we can see that we can add in global prompts. So this is a global prompt right here. So a global prompt up here can be used as the start node as well, right? So we can see global node. This is going to be the first point. So enable global node. This will be the first global node, right? Global voice, again, this is the voice for the entire workflow, same as the prompt, right? And then variables, this is where you can put in all the variables for the entire conversation and you can see everything as well. This is the workflow JSON up the top. So essentially it just shows us a workflow JSON of all of the different tools in the JSON format. And this is where you can actually go ahead and call our agent. So let's actually give it a call and you can see, once we call it, you can see how it's going to route down all these different things. So if I say you want to schedule a new appointment, you can see how it's going to work in real time. Let's give it a ring right now.
Thank you for calling Wellness Partners. This is Riley, your scheduling assistant. How may I help you today?
Hey, how you going? Look, I'd just like to schedule a new appointment.
Are you a new patient to Wellness Partners, or have you visited us before?
I'm a new patient.
Great. What type of appointment do you need today? Do you
It's
have
urgent.
a
It's
provider
very
preference
urgent.
or?
It's very urgent at the moment. It's very urgent.
Thank you for letting me know it's urgent. What type of urgent appointment do you need? Are you looking for urgent care, primary care, or something else? And do you have a provider preference, or should I find
Not
the first
really, no.
available for you?
Anyone. I need to go to the ER.
If it's an emergency, please dial 911 or go to the ER immediately.
So yeah, let's just end the call right there. But you can see how it's able to have more structured, inputs, and how it's able to actually follow that node inside the conversation. So again, it's not that complex. And then also down here, we also have end calls as well. So this is where you can put specific node types as well for adding all these calls right here. And then finally, we'll just dive deep into the different types of nodes. So we can see we have the conversation node, which is used throughout the workflows for the conversation, right? We have the end call node as well to end the call. So again, you can add in multiple, ways of these, right? Maybe you want to end the call around here where it says maybe you want to end the call around here where it actually has the person in a medical emergency, and you want to end the call right there, right? So that's how you can do all these different types of things. We've got transfer call. So again, you can add in transfer call capabilities, right? Maybe this node you wanted to transfer, to an emergency staff, right? And you can hook that up right here, and then you can configure the transfer destination in here. So think about it as just adding in all the tools, just like the assistant, but adding in a more structured kind of tree diagram way. And then also finally, we have API requests and tools. So again, you can put in tools right here for where it wants to check in appointments. So as if you notice, you can actually attach the tools as well right here, or you can actually go ahead and do it via this node as well. So I believe we've covered everything inside the workflow section, as well as the end call tool. And then as you can see up here, we also have our global node right here, which is going to be the first global node as well. And we've got a little condition here for transferring the call. So hopefully you understand now in Vapi how you are able to build these kind of complex advanced agents inside the workflow builder. Now, finally, we're going to cover the squad section, which is just a new feature inside Vapi as well, which allows us to connect and connect different types of agents. So let's just add in a few agents here. So we can we'll add in this agent right here, and I'll show you how it works inside Vapi. So essentially, squads are a way to connect multiple agents right here. So you can see these are all my different agents right here that I have inside Vapi. So let's add in a bunch of different agents, right? And essentially, you can combine different agents and you can make them transfer and hand off to one another, right? So for example, this guy, high level agent, is a salon, right? So for example, you could have multiple agents and have them hand off. A great use case for this is if you want to use a simple and you want to use an assistant agent just in the assistant tab, and you don't want it to hallucinate. Or so maybe it needs to do too many tasks. It needs to have a long conversational call process where it needs to collect all this information, right? Maybe you want to have it split up into different assistants. So this is very much similar to the prompt agent, but we can have individual assistants and we can have them in a squad. So for example, let's say you have this go high level agent right here. If we come out, we can actually connect it right here to the Vapi agent, and then we can have a handoff tool information system right here. So that goes back to my point in the tool section where you can hand off everything right here to the tool. So this is where you'll make your description, right? So you can add the description of how this handoff is going to be happening inside the squad node as well, right? So that's essentially how a quick overview on how it runs. It's very similar to the assistance tab right here, but you just don't have as many of the settings, right? Because it's just in a squad section. So you still have the model, you still have the voice, but it's just a little bit different in terms of the workflow section. Like you don't have a lot of the same flexibility in terms of structuring the conversation, but it's still not as simple as the assistant. So it's just right in between. So Vapi have given us our flexibility right there as well. And again, you can have variables. So again, you can search for variables extracted inside the conversation as well up here. And yeah, so that kind of covers just a basic example so you can understand how to go into different squads. But now we're actually going to be diving into a Vapi masterclass right here, which is going to be 3 practical builds. I'm going to be showing you step by step how these builds actually work. So you're going to learn an inbound appointment setter, an outbound speed lead agent, and then an outbound mass campaign agent, and then also how to connect numbers to your agent. So now, based on everything you've learned with the foundation models, expanding the toolkit, and then also understanding the advanced squad builders as well inside Vapi, now we can actually go on to building agents. Okay, so we're in Vapi. This is going to be the voice AI platform that we're going to be using to create this voice AI agent for the salon and barbershop. So first of all, let's get started. So we'll go down to create an assistant, and then we're just going to be doing a blank template. So this allows us to customize the agent straight from scratch. So we'll just name it, we'll name it Sophia, Sophia Salon Agent. Go ahead and select create a system. And then from there, will be selected on the screen. And then the first message right here is the first message the voice AI agent is going to say when someone calls up the phone. So we'll say, hello, hello, this is Sophia from Crown Cuts Barbershop. How can I help you today? This is going to be the first message that the AI agent is saying. Just capitalize that. Okay, so now we have the system prompt. So this prompt is really important to tell the AI agent what to do, how to handle the task, how to call different tools such as check availability and book appointments. So I'm just going to go down to here to this Google Doc. And of course, if you do want this voice AI prompt that I've used in this video, just go ahead and subscribe and download the prompt in the link in the description below. So you get it completely for free so you can build it alongside me. So I'm going to go ahead and expand this up here, delete this prompt, paste in this prompt that we just got right here. And then I'll just run you through it and kind of restructure it. So first of all, up here we have the role. So again, giving the AI agent a role within the business. We've said you were Sophia, a concierge for a crown cuts and style studio, a modern salon and barber lounge. Your persona is friendly, approachable, stylish, and confident. And your primary function is to provide a smooth and trendy booking experiences that reflects the salon's high quality brand. So again, giving the AI agent a role within inside the business, known as the concierge or receptionist, and then also giving it a persona such as friendly, approachable, and stylish. And then from here, we have the current time. So this is really useful when we're sending times to check availability and book appointments. So the AI always knows the current time in which it's speaking in. So you would obviously change this for your time zone at the end. So for example, if it was like America slash like, and then you could do Los Angeles or whatever, right? So you just put your time zone in there. But again, I'm just going to leave mine as Brisbane. Right here, because that is the current time zone. And again, that does help our AI agent understand the current time and know to always send times in the future. And then from here, we have the task. So this is going to be the task of the agent, how it's going to be conducting its conversation within inside the role or within inside how it's speaking to the customer. So again, number one, greeting and service inquiry. I'm just going to fix this up. Number one, greet the caller to a warm inquiry stating your name and the salon's name, and then ask what service it'd like. For example, it could be a haircut, a beard trim, color, or styling. So again, collecting the information about the service they would like. And then from there, once the AI agent has collected that information, it's then going to check availability with the calendar. So again, once you know the desired service, ask the client for their preferred date and time, and then use the check availability tool for to check the requested time. So another thing that's really important about this is that we need to make sure that this name right here is the exact same tool name that we have within inside the tool set within inside Vapi. So again, that's something that's really important. And then if their preferred time is available, proceed to the next step. And then if it is unavailable, politely inform them and suggest the closest available slot. So for example, if I were to call up and say, look, do you have 10 a.m? The AI agent checks the calendar and it says no. The AI agent's then going to go ahead and run that function again to then check for available slots. And then from here, we have if the client asks for general availability, again, use the check availability. So again, prompting the AI agent to handle any scenario that the customer could come across or the customer could ask the agent. And then from there, once the time is agreed upon, you will then use the client's, you will then collect the client's full name, phone number, and email address. And then confirm all the details such as full name, phone number, email address, service type, and then date and time. So again, confirming all those details to make sure it's correct within the business. And then from there, you will run the book appointment tool with the confirmed information. So yeah, that's kind of the task, within this AI agent prompt. You can see how I've done, 1, 2, 3, just a simple task, simple prompt for this video. And then from here, we've provided the AI agent a little bit of context. So you said you are Crown Cuts, a style studio, a premium salon and barber lounge offering haircuts, color, beard trims, and styling. So again, giving the AI agent a little bit of context about the business. And then from here, we have the example conversation. Again, I like to add this in a lot of voice AI agents that I work with, just because it gives the AI agent context on how to conduct a conversation. And then also right here, you can see that we're telling the AI agent how to run certain tools and how to check availability, book appointments. So again, the AI agent knows how to conduct a conversation and then also knows when to run tools as well. And then from here, we just have some important notes. So almost done with the prompt here. So for example, we've got use everyday language, keep it natural, conversational, use the client's name throughout the conversation, add natural fillers. So again, this is just making the AI agent more conversational for the customer and our prompt. So we'll go ahead and click update there. And that's really the prompt. Then we'll come down here files. I'm not really going to touch this. This is again a knowledge base, so you just go ahead and add files. As you can see, I've got a bunch of files. If you do want to add a file, create a Google Doc, create a document or a PDF, click add files, and then you can just go down here and add everything within inside your files. Voice configuration, I'll go down here and just leave it as the normal voice. We'll just select it as a female for this whole purpose, as we're using a female name. So yeah, that's kind of the whole configuration inside Vapi. And then now all that we need to do is go ahead and configure the tools. So to configure these tools, we're going to need to go ahead to go over to tools right here, and I'm actually going to be building out both of these automations, from scratch. So we're going to be using make.com to go ahead and automate. So make.com is just an automation software that we can use to check availability, book appointments, so do a bunch of different automations, and we can connect both Vapi and make.com via a webhook. So this is exactly how we can build this type of automation right here. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and create a new tool. It's going to be a custom tool. Our first tool is going to be the check availability. So I've got it right there. And then the description is just going to be to check the availability of the calendar for the salon. So again, it's fixing up the spelling mistakes. So again, this description is going towards the LLM to know the entire purpose of this tool. Then from here, we need to add some parameters. So this is going to be just the time. So we'll send just time in here. The time that the customer has requested right there. Awesome. So again, this is sending this information via JSON, so you can actually see what it looks like. This is what it's getting sent over in a JSON via a webhook. So again, that's all we really need. And the last thing that I'm going to need is a server URL. So if you go back over to make.com, this is going to be the automation that we're using to check availability. So again, this automation right here is checking availability, and it's also checking for more availability within inside a time frame that's provided, just like I said, within inside the prompt. So what we're going to need here is the webhook address. So if we go down here, copy this webhook, and of course, if you do want this entire automation template, I'll leave it down below in the link in the description, so you can go ahead and build it out. Again, copy this to the clipboard, come over to the server URL, and then paste this make thing right here. So now if we go ahead and click save, this automation should be all done. And then the second automation, the second tool we need to create is the booking tool. So again, custom tool, I'll come down here and name it book appointment. Right there, awesome. And then we'll say to book a appointment for the salon right here. So again, this is going towards the LLM, so it knows the purpose of the tool. And then from here, we'll do the same thing. We'll add some parameters, but this is going to be a little bit different. As you saw in the prompt, we're asking the AI agent to collect the name, the phone number, the email address, the full type of service. So again, I'm going to be putting in full name as this tool. Again, you need to make sure you have these underscores within inside the name of the parameter, because that's just how we need to structure it inside a JSON. The name of the customer, apply, and then we'll go ahead and add another property, the email, the email of the customer, apply. Again, it makes it really easy for us to add these properties in. And then from there, we'll do phone number. Yeah, we need to add in phone number, the phone number of the customer. And from there, we'll add in one more thing, which is going to be the time again. So this is just going to be the confirmed time. The confirmed time of the customer for the appointment. Perfect. And then last thing we need to add is the service type. So again, is it a beard trim? Is it a haircut? Are they doing stylish? So styling or whatever, right? Service type. The service type of the customer. All right, awesome. So this should be all good now. So we can go ahead and test it and send some information to make, so we can then structure the entire workflow. So if we just go ahead and click apply right here, and then of course we're going to need that server URL. So coming back over to here, inside. So yeah, again, this is going to be the book appointment one. So again, I'll briefly explain how these work after we get some data in and we can map it and build it out. And then we'll do a final test and demo run and I'll explain how everything works. So again, putting that webhook again right here. Gonna go ahead and click save, and then right here we'll go back over to the assistant, and then we need to add these tools within inside the tools right here. So book appointment, check availability right there, awesome. Click publish, and now our AI agent should be all good to test. So now that we've configured those tools, I just want to go ahead and test and map some of this data into this make.com automation and workflow. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead to this first one. I'm going to click run once. And then I'll also do the same for the book appointment one once, and then wait for new data. And if we come back here, we go over to the chat and we'll say hello. This is where we can test the AI agent and send in some testing data so we can map it to the automation and then make it work. And then we'll go ahead and do a final demo. So I'll say, looking to get a men's haircut. Perfect. Do you have availability for tomorrow at 1 p.m? You can see right here, if we go back over to this automation, it's going to call and then it's going to say, perfect, we do have availability. Perfect. And then from there, we're going to give it some of our details. So we'll say Ashton Voss. Ashton is the email, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we'll do, what else does it need? Okay, perfect. So that's all it needs. Go ahead and make sure this is running. Perfect. Click send. And then now we can go ahead and map and get some data in here. So again, thanks Action. Let me confirm. Okay, yes. Yes. See right here. All right, perfect. So this is what we need. Again, the reason why I'm doing this is we need to get some of this data that we have via webhook so we can map it into this Google Calendar module and all these other modules so it makes sense, right? So again, I'm going to come back in here. And then we can change some of this. So new appointment for, come back over here to tool calls, functions, arguments. Again, you can see this is all about data right here. So I'll just do full name at time. Perfect. Actually, no, we need to use the OpenAI at time right there. So again, start date is going to be that time. End date, we won't need to put any of that. And then the duration is going to be an hour. And then right here, we'll just simply map some of these details. So appointment details for full name at time, for service type is men's haircut. Email is this. And then the phone number is that right there. All right, perfect. Address, we won't need to have that. And then name, again, this is going to be for the attendees. So full name. And then email right there. So perfect. All right. So now that Google Calendar workflow will work, and then I'm going to go ahead and customize the the confirmation email. So this is getting sent towards the customer upon booking. So again, this is really important as well. Email address, of course, come down here, tools, functions, arguments, email. You have a new service appointment for service type. So you have a new service appointment for a men's haircut that has been scheduled at. And this is the time, a full name, service is scheduled for men's haircuts at time, and then bang. So now that email is going to get sent with all that data. Again, we'll go over here and just do delete that. And then yeah, this will be all good. I'm going to go ahead and delete this because this is using this for another module. Yeah, okay, so now this is going to successfully schedule an event and then send a confirmation email upon the appointment. So now this should be all good to go ahead and do a final test and demo inside Vapi. So yeah, that's just quickly how you can build these AI agents pretty quickly, mapping all that data in. So again, let's go ahead and talk to it and let's do a final little test run and demo. So let's just go ahead and trigger both of these workflows. Come back over to here. Hey, how you going, Sophia? I was just looking to book in an appointment, please.
I'd love to help you with that booking. What service are you interested in today?
I was just interested in just a men's haircut with a beard trim as well, please.
Fantastic choice. When would you like to come in for your haircut?
Let's do tomorrow at 2 p.m. please.
At 2 p.m. Could I please get your full name, phone number, and email to finalize your booking?
Sure, no problem. So it's Ashton Voss. My email is ashtonvoss47@gmail.com. And then my phone number is 123-456-789. Yeah.
Your appointment is confirmed for a men's haircut. If your hair changes, just let us know. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Alright, awesome. So you can see right there, just went ahead and booked the appointment. It's in my Google Calendar. It's got all of those different times and details in the description. Okay, and in this video, you're going to learn how to call thousands of leads using a voice AI agent that's going to be utilizing Vapi and N8N. So this AI agent is going to be able to call, thousands of leads instantaneously 24/7. It's going to be able to check availability inside a calendar system and then also book a appointment inside a calendar system as well. And these AI agents are really useful for businesses that have heaps of leads and contacts laying around in a CRM, so we might as well just get an AI agent to call all of them and potentially increase their bottom line revenue. So this voice AI agent actually does this is what we do is we get a long list of leads, whether it's inside a Google Sheet or it's inside a CRM, and every single business has all of these old leads laying around. So we get these leads. For example, this is just something that I generated for ChatGPT that I'm going to be using in this demo, but we get all these long lists of leads and we give it to an AI agent. So we're going to be using Vapi to build this AI agent in this platform and to create all these outbound calls as well. So we get all these leads, we put it into Vapi AI, and then from there, all you can do is just customize it and build a normal AI agent like you would normally. So for example, I'm going to be doing a real estate AI agent that's going to be able to book appointments for people that were interested in buying a property. So for example, they might have reached out and the company didn't follow up with them. So now we can go ahead and get the AI agent to call them from this lead list to then book an appointment, with N8N and Google Calendar. So that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. So let me show you a example of how this actually sounds and works in real time. So alright, so I've got the campaign ready up in Vapi. I'm going to go ahead and launch it, and then you can see how the AI agent is actually going to converse. So right here, we can see that it's calling me, and I'll pick it up.
Hello, is this Ashton?
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Hi, Ashton. My name is James, and I'm calling from Waterview Real Estate. I'm reaching out because you previously showed interest in understanding the current value of your property. Do you have a few moments to chat?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Great. Are you still considering selling your property, or would you like to know more about its current market value?
Yeah, I'm thinking of selling it. Yeah.
That's excellent to hear. We can offer you a complimentary, no obligation property appraisal to give you a precise valuation. One of our expert agents can come by for a quick walkthrough. Would you be interested in setting up a time for that?
Yeah, no problem. Do you guys have any availability maybe tomorrow at 3 p.m.?
One moment. Yes, we do have availability tomorrow at 3 p.m. Would that time work for you?
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
Excellent. Could you please confirm the property address where the appraisal will be conducted, as well as your full name and email address?
No problem. So my full name is Ashton Voss, and the property address is 123 Main Drive, and my email is ashton123@gmail.com.
This will just take a sec. All set, Ashton. You're confirmed for a complimentary appraisal on Saturday, July 12th at 3 p.m. at 123.
So yeah, you can just see right there, the AI agent, flawlessly booked the appointment. It checked the availability, and then right here, it booked the appointment with some of the details and addresses. So again, this is really useful for calling all of these systems that businesses have. So often, lots of businesses have thousands of leads just lying around, and implementing a system like this can often instantaneously add revenue to their bottom line. So now I'm going to show you exactly how this system works as well. So let's get right into it. All right, so we're in Vapi here now, and we're just going to go ahead and explain how this AI agent works. So obviously we're using a blank template inside Vapi, and then this is going to be some of the configurations we need to make this AI agent happen. And then we're also going to need some tools on the back end to check availability, book the appointment, and then I'm also going to show you how to set up the CSV file to then trigger the outbound call. So first of all, coming into the outbound AI agent, we're just going to be using OpenAI for this example. GPT-4o, the standard model first. And then we're going to do the assistant speaks first. And then right here, it's actually going to call the lead by its first name. So you saw in the demo, it called me by my first name. So we put this dynamic variable here, and it's actually going to go ahead and call every single lead by its first name to reach out. And then from here, we have the system prompt. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly open this up now and explain how this prompt works. So obviously a prompt is to give the AI agent its role, its task, and how to conduct its specific use case in that scenario. So this AI agent's prompt is prompted towards outbound calls and creating appointments. So we can see right here, I've got the role. I've said, you are James. Your purpose is to engage potential clients who have previously expressed interest in selling their property. You are persuasive yet respectful with a clear and articulate voice, and your primary objective is to schedule in a no obligation property appraisal with one of the agency's real estate experts. And then down here we have the task. So we have your task is conduct outbound calls with a list of pre-qualified leads to follow up on their prior interests and gauge their current readiness to sell. Right here, I've got the current time. Again, this helps the AI agent and the AI model understand the time, and then it also helps process the booking as well. It's not really that necessarily in Vapi, but I just like to always add it in here so we can get more accurate webhook responses and webhooks to end to then book the appointment. And then from here, we've got the specifics. So this is how the AI agent is going to conduct all of its tasks. So first one, initiate the call. So greet the user, introduce that you are a real estate agency you represent, and then clearly state the reason for your call, referencing their previous interest in the property. So right here, you know, if a company had a long list of leads with a different descriptions or the reasons why the caller reached out in the past, the AI agent's going to recognize that, and then it's going to ask, you know, are you still interested in doing XYZ? Now it's got a little example right here. And then the next is to ask if it's a good time to speak. So, you know, if the person is stuck doing something, you know, it might not be a good time to speak. So we always need to make sure, because this is kind of like a warm call to leads who have reached out, we're not getting inbound calls. We have to make sure that it's okay to speak to the AI, to the person actually. So from there, if it is a good time to speak, we're going to proceed to step 3. And then if not, be polite and understanding, and then ask if you can check back in, you know, within 6 to 12 months. So because this is the real estate agent right here, you know, it may take a long time for people to actually sell their property. So this is why we add this step in right here for this specific AI agent. And then from there, we're going to actually initiate and offer to book the appointment. So I'm going to explain the value of the free property appraisal, and then I'm going to ask the lead if they'd be open to scheduling a time with the AI agent for a visit. And then if they do agree, it's then going to go ahead and check the availability. So it's going to ask the customer what time works best for you, and then it's going to use this check availability tool. Then obviously we're always calling the tool by its exact name with inside Vapi to then find and check the slots in the calendar. And I'll show you how that tool is structured and connects to end to actually process that booking. And then from there, you must always check times in the future. Then you must always run this tool before booking appointments. So it's really essential that we make sure the AI agent is constantly checking availability when it's finding a time. And then once it's confirmed that time, it can only then move on to actually book the appointment. And then from there, if a time is unavailable, it'll also go ahead and check slots that is closest to that time. So for example, if someone requested, 2 p.m., it's going to go ahead and check times around that time, for example, 3:30 p.m. And then from there, once the time is agreed upon, it's going to ask for all the details to actually go ahead and book the appointment. So it's going to ask for the details, it's going to save it, and then it's going to send it via webhook all the way to end. So it's going to ask for the full name, property address, and email, and then it's going to confirm the time of the appointment. So once it has all these details saved, it's then going to confirm and finalize all the appointment details and everything to make sure and go ahead and book it. So then from there, it's going to say, great, I've got you in for, the date, time at the property address for a pre-appraisal. Is this okay? Can we book this? So again, confirming the date and confirming the time with the customer just to make sure that all the information is accurate and up to standard to the business as well. So then it's going to run the book appointment tool with the lead's full name, property address, and email. So as you saw right here, this is some of those variables right here. So it's got the name, time, email, and then their property address. Change that right there. So yeah, it's saving all those details and then it's sending it to process the booking. And then from there, we've just got some context of the AI agent. I just like to add this in, its main goal, and then an example conversation. Again, example conversation is really useful to let the AI agent and make sure it stays on track. And then also it gives it a good idea of when to run the tools as well. And then I've just got some notes in the bottom here that I always add to the AI agent to make it more conversational and better as well. So yeah, that's essentially a quick run through of the prompt. And then down here, I've got no knowledge base usually. Usually I would attach a knowledge base, but for this example, I've got no knowledge base. Max tokens, essentially this just means what is the maximum amount of tokens or the output that the AI agent can say. So setting this to 250 just limits those long words. So, AI likes to, ramble on sometimes. So having this at 250 just makes sure everything is nice and short and concise. Temperature, I just leave it around 0.5. Again, this just means the variability of how the AI agent is going to go onto the prompt. Again, if it's higher, it's going to have more variability within its answers. And then if it's lower, it's going to stick more to the prompt. So again, I've just got this at 0.5 right there. Voice configurations, I've just got the standard from Vapi. But again, you can go ahead and change it to 11 Labs, Cartesia, all these different voice AI models. But I'll just leave it for Vapi as well. So yeah, that's essentially all we have here in the AI agent. So now I'm going to go ahead and go over to the tools. So just go right here, and we're using just two tools today. We're using a check availability and then a book appointment. So this is what the check availability tool looks like. Again, making sure the tool name is the exact same in your prompt. So you can see right here, I've got check availability here. If we go back right here, we can see that the prompt, the tool name is the exact same and it's in quotation marks. So this just makes sure the AI agent knows what tool to call with inside these tools. So go back over here. Again, I've just got a description. This is just letting the AI know what the purpose of this tool is. So to check the requested time of the user or to check the calendar availability. And then from here, all we're sending in via JSON is just the time. So again, you can go ahead and add a property note right here and then add the description. And then it'll just go ahead and auto-populate that JSON file. So yeah, I've just got the time of the agent. And then from here is the server URL. So this is a webhook and it's attached to this right here. So as you saw, that this is going to be the webhook that's receiving all the information right here. So we need to make sure that this webhook is the same right here. And we're putting it into this little slot right here, which is a server URL. So yeah, now that should be all good to go and process the check availability function. Then finally, we've got one more tool, which is the book appointment. So right here, this is just a little bit different. We've got different parameters. So again, making sure the tool name is the same. We've got the description to book the confirmed appointment with the customer. And then the parameters are a little bit different. So these are going to be the things that we're sending to N8N to then go ahead and book the calendar event inside Google Calendar. So we've got the time of the confirmed appointment after it's checked availability, the email of the customer, the full name, and then the property address. So again, having those things sent by JSON, we're just structuring them in the visual editor in Vapi. And then from there, we have the webhook address right here, which is just this connected up to this system. Again, it's the exact same. So making sure these are the exact same. And then it's going to be sending all that information in here, which I'll run through in the next section. So yeah, that is essentially all the tools inside Vapi and how everything works. And of course, make sure you add these tools to the Vapi AI agent as well. And of course, if you do want this AI agent and you want, the prompt, the workflows, everything, feel free to go ahead and download it in the description below. But yeah, now I'm going to go ahead and run you through how these modules and nodes work inside N8N. Right, so we have the first workflow here and nodes here from from N8N. So essentially what's happening in this workflow is that coming from this tool, when it's called the tool, you can see it's going to this webhook address and then it's triggering this workflow. So this webhook address, we can see right here, this is all the information that has come into Vapi. And now we can send this to an AI agent to then process to make a booking. So again, the information has come in using the time right here. So that's all that's coming in. And then we're contacting the AI agent right here. So this is the prompt. We can see I've got the role, I've got the requested time, how to book it, the output that it needs to have. So right here, we can see that this is the webhook on the side. So if we go down here, we can see that the time right here that has just been sent from Vapi is now inputted into this AI agent right here to then go ahead and process the booking. So again, I'll run you through quickly this prompt. So I've just said the current date and time is now. So you can just go ahead and do double curly brackets inside N8N to get the current time, and then all we've got is the requested time. So this is all the variables that the AI agent needs to then go ahead and process and contact Google Calendar to make the booking. So right here, I've just got some of the hours, the booking process, so we can see check if the customer's requested time is available using the calendar. If the time is available, let the AI model know and confirm. So this is really useful because all we can do in N8N is we can just let the AI model define the start and end time by this prompt. So because we've prompted it really well, we don't have to go ahead and put all these different variables in, and this just reduces all the different errors that it could get just by letting AI know and do it itself. So that's a really cool thing about N8N. Yeah, and then from there, output and response. So essentially, this is programming the AI agent to then send information back to Vapi. So if it is available, we're then going to generate a message through AI. So we can say the requested time of, as you saw, 3 p.m. on Saturday is available. Would you like to book this? And then we say, if you have found no availability in the requested time, suggest up to 3 alternative time slots, and then just some important notes down there. So that's all that's happening in this AI agent. And then from there, we're using OpenAI's chat model. So we can see here, that is the prompt that has just been put into OpenAI to then allow us to prompt and process all of these different tools and bookings. And then we've got the availability calendar tool right here, which you can see has just been used. So essentially what's happening is our requested time's coming in, it's coming into the AI agent, and then it's contacting this tool right here. And then all we have is just defined by the AI model. So I can see I've literally just clicked that button right there. And then the AI model is going to define the start time and end time automatically and make it compatible with Google Calendar. So then from there, we can see that the output and response has been true. And then it's going to come back to the AI agent. And then the AI agent's going to realize that, yes, this time is available. And then it's going to send a response right here, which is saying, hey, the requested time of 3 p.m. on 12th of July is available. Just to confirm, would you like to book this? So yeah, essentially, then it's going to send that information back to Vapi AI. And then Vapi AI is going to tell the customer that it is been available. So, and then from there, we also have a get all events. So this is really useful when, the customer might say, do you have availability, tomorrow afternoon? So it's then going to get all the availability for tomorrow afternoon. So that's all that's really happening in this node as well. So yeah, that's all that's happening in the check availability. So now let's go over to the book appointment, which is a little bit different, but pretty similar. From there, again, it's using the same webhook that we have over here. It's sending all these variables via JSON. So, you got the time, email, full name, property address, sending it to N8N, and then it's processing to the AI agent. So if we go ahead and click on it, we can see that it has all these different variables for then us to process the booking. So we can see that the confirmed time is this, the email is that, the full name, and then the property address is that. Comes into the AI agent, and then we can see this is the confirmed booking time right here, and that's all that's happening. This is literally it, pretty simple. And then also we have a new output result right here, which is letting the AI agent know that the meeting or the appointment has been confirmed. And then from there, we just have a simple, of course, we're using OpenAI for the AI model to make this happen. And then from there, we have a create an event. So we've got a little bit more things programmed in here, but it's really simple. If we go down to the webhook, we can see that we're just mapping all this different information inside here. So we can see right here, the attendees, which is going to be this email address. We're just putting that in there. And then the description, just go ahead and click this. We can see that we're dropping all those variables into here, which will then output its result right here inside the description. So again, we can see that we've got the name right here, putting that in, and then the email, full name, time, title, everything. So that's going to be in the description. And then the summary, essentially that just means the title right here is programmed as well using these nodes. So yeah, we can see the output has been successful, and then it's gone ahead and booked it into the calendar. And of course, if you do want to, create or connect to your calendar, you can literally just go ahead here and then click create a new credential and then sign in with Google as well. And then you're going to need the OpenAI key as well, which is really easy. You just need the OpenAI key from OpenAI. So just search up API key OpenAI, and then it's pretty easy as well. I've already explained how to do it on this channel. But yeah, that's essentially how this AI agent can make calls. So I'll just quickly run you through how to set this up. And then, yeah, we can see right here that we're in Vapi. So if we go ahead to go to Outbound, and then all we need to do is create a new campaign. So this is how we launch these mass lead lists and call all these leads with inside Vapi. So we can see, we'll just give it a campaign name. So do demo for YouTube, number 1. We're just going to do a manual. As you can see, they're adding a live trigger soon, which will be really cool as well. And then from the phone number, again, you're going to need to connect a phone number from Twilio or whatever phone number provider you're using. But again, that's my number right there. And then the CSV. So it needs to be, in a template that Vapi can understand. So we go ahead and open this template. So yeah, I'm just opening up the template here. So this is the template they've given us. So we need to make sure that this information is structured in this specific way so the AI agent or the AI model can understand. So we can see you go ahead and put your number in there, your name, and all these different informations from the lead list. So essentially, if you had it from a CRM or Google Sheet, you can just go ahead and import it to a format that Vapi understands. So yeah, that you need to make sure that the CSV is uploaded like that. I'll just put in the one that I already had. So you can see right here, this is the preview. So it's going to call the phone number, it's going to call the name, and then it's going to call the email. The assistant, again, really easy. We're just selecting the assistant that is going to be calling. So once it has that number, it's then going to be using this number that we connected, and then it's going to be mapping it to this assistant. And then obviously you have schedule now or send, schedule for later or send now. So we can see right here, if we want to do schedule for later, you can go ahead and configure those times right there. And then click launch campaign, and you should be all good to go to make all these calls. So what you want to do is you want to come over to a new make.com scenario right here and create a new scenario. The first module we have right here is going to be our trigger. So what is the module going to be triggering for this automation? So let's go ahead and click add. And in this example and demo, I'm going to be using a Google Calendar. But if you are using this for another business, obviously connect to their calendar, look at their API systems and documentations because it can be different for every calendar. But you want to connect to a calendar so you can search the events. But in this case, I'm going to be using a Google Calendar right here. So what we want to do is we want to select search events. And then from here, obviously you want to go ahead and connect to a Google Calendar. Just click add right here and sign into your Google Calendar. And then from here, calendar ID is going to be whatever your email is. And then the start date from here is going to be 9 a.m. So how we actually do this is we add in a formatted date in ISO 861 format to be 9 a.m. for that day in the current time zone. So how we actually do this is I'm just going to paste this in so you can see how it works. But if you do want to build this out, just go ahead and click in here and then click into this little calendar button and you can add in these functions yourself. Or alternatively, if you do download the template, I'm going to be giving away completely for free. This will all be in here. So essentially what we're doing is we're just formatting a date in ISO 861 format. So we're getting the set second, the set minute, set hour, and then the time now that it is in your time zone, which is going to be Australia/Sydney right there. And then 9 is going to be the hour. So essentially the start date is going to be 9 a.m. for each day. And we can actually schedule this make automation and module to run each time at 9 each day. So we can then use that start date and then search for all the events within the start date, right? And then for the end date, what we're going to do is we're going to add on 12 hours to 9 a.m. So again, we're going to be searching for all events within 9 a.m. of that next working day or the current working day, to say so, all the way up to 9 p.m. So we're going to get all the available calendars and events and then call them for an appointment reminder. So again, for the end date right here, this is what we want. So again, add hours, set second, set minute, set hour. And then the now time is obviously going to be that now time, which is going to be 9. And then we're just adding on 12 hours. So of course, if you do want to build this out yourself, just go into this date and time section and then add it exactly like this. Feel free to pause the video or go ahead and add everything like this. Just make sure it's formatted right now. But I just thought I'd just go ahead and paste a prompt or a template that I've already built so you can just get an idea of how to, how it quickly works, right? Okay. And then from here, update from, we'll just leave that blank. We don't really need that. Single events, we're going to leave it as no at the moment. And then we're going to select all event types right here. Okay, and then limit, we're just going to put it to 1 for this purpose of this demo, but you can obviously change it to retrieve a bunch of different events, but I'm just going to be working within one, demo or one event that I have scheduled. Okay, awesome. So let's go ahead and click save right there. So if we come back to our Google Calendar right here, we can see that I've got a new appointment upcoming soon. So what it's going to do is going to search for all of these availabilities within 9 a.m. for this day. And to actually make that happen, come down to the bottom right here, switch every 15 minutes. And then what you want to do is you want to change the run scenario. You want to put every day. and then you can actually change the time it's going to run. So for example, whatever time zone you're in, maybe you want it at the start, maybe you want it at the end for the next day, whatever time you want these outbound calls to go out to remind the customer, this is what you want to set. But I just thought it would be good to do it at 9 p.m. at the start of the business's day. So put 9, and then we're going to do AM, come back here. So again, 9 p.m. every single day, this scenario is going to run, right? Let's actually go ahead and click run once, and we can see that it has retrieved that event right here, which is everything we have at the moment. So now what we can do, as we can see, if we come back, it's retrieved all of those details that we have right here. So we can see the output of that search event. Now, the next step that we want to do is we want to add in a AI or a ChatGPT module right here. So if we come in, we search generate a completion, and then from there, this is what we're going to be prompted with. So essentially what is happening in this module is we're taking in all the search events in that big messy format that you just saw, and we're going to condense it down into a JSON, which we can then put into Vapi to create an outbound call. And it needs to be in this JSON format. Otherwise, it really won't work. So again, this is the way I recommend doing it. Let's go ahead and add in just GPT 4.1. That'll work fine. And then the messages, we're going to add in a message. We're going to switch this to developer system right here. And this is the prompt that you want to put in. Again, I'm just pasting everything in so you have a good idea of how it works. So let's go ahead and paste this in. So this is going to be our prompt. You're an assistant, generate a structured JSON with the following fields: name, which is the field name of the recipient; phone number, which is the string; and then the reason for the appointment; start date, end time. And then what we're also going to do is we're going to put, we'll leave that. So essentially what is going to be happening is we're going to be putting and giving ChatGPT all these event details right here, and it's going to be putting it into a JSON like this. So that's going to be our prompt at the moment. And then we're going to add a message. It's going to be user message right here. And then what we want to add is that appointment details from that make.com event. So let's go ahead and add that in. Appointment details right here. And then what we want to do is we want to come down to the description. So that's going to be the description of our calendar. And ChatGPT is going to look at all this information and it's going to put it into a JSON files, right? Let's go ahead and add that. And then we're going to put start time. By the way, that description is just this, which has the number that we're going to use. Very important, the email, etc., right? Let's come back, start time. Then we're going to do this, which is going to be start, which is the start time of the event. And then we'll do end time right here. Awesome. Add end time. Okay, so after you've added those details inside this user, section right here, we want to do one more important thing, which is going to be switching on these advanced settings, right? And then this response format, we want to change it to JSON object right here. And then phrase JSON is going to be yes. So essentially, this needs to be done to essentially tell ChatGPT what its response format is going to be, which is going to be this JSON object. And we need to select phrase JSON to phrase all those JSONs into objects, which we can then map into this make automation, such as, creating the outbound call, which is very important. So make sure you have this done. Don't worry about all these other, configurations. Just go ahead and click save right there. Okay, awesome. Now that we have that ChatGPT module, let's go ahead and add another module. And we're going to add this Vapi module right here. So just search Vapi up here. And then we're going to come down, create a call. Awesome. And then from here, we're going to need a few things. So I've already connected my Vapi account, but you will need to add a Vapi account and connection if you haven't already connected it. Just go ahead and click add right here. And then the API key, we're going to need an API key. So what you want to do is you want to come back to Vapi, come back up to API keys right here. And then you want to paste this private API key, come back to make, and then just put it in here and click save, right? And everything should be all good to go, right? Copy your private API key, not the public one. So then from there, you need an assistant ID. So this is actually where we're going to head over to Vapi to create your voice AI agent. And then we're going to map back in some of these fields. So let's come back over to Vapi platform right here. Again, dashboard.vapi AI, you want to head over to. And then from there, once you are in this kind of overview and system, you'll be put in this page. You want to come down to assistants right here, right? And then from there, you're going to need to create a new agent. So let's create a new agent. Let's just name it appointment reminder. Awesome, right? Appointment reminder agent. Let's click create assistant. Awesome. Okay, so you'll be put into this dashboard right here. So Provider is just going to be OpenAI and then model GPT-4o cluster. That's fine. And then for the first message mode, we want to select this, which is going to be assistant speaks first, so that our AI is going to be speaking first. Now, in this first message, you want to put something like this. So for example, hello is this, and then we want to do double curly bracket name, right? So essentially what this is going to be doing, and you'll understand how this works later, but again, these right here is what we call dynamic variables. So essentially what we're doing and why this part was so important in ChatGPT is we're going to be phrasing those variables that we have gotten from that event that we have searched for, and we're going to be putting it in objects, right? And we can use that object to be a dynamic variable with inside our Vapi assistant. So if you come back here, we can put variable values. So you can see right here, we've got name at the moment, which is just going to be the name, obviously, of the customer. So we can put in these dynamic variables inside our prompt. And what is going to be happening is we're going to be feeding those dynamic variables into this create call module right here. So that's a little bit of background about what is happening with these dynamic variables, if you're wondering. So we're going to say for the first message, again, calling up the person, we're going to say, hello, is this, Ashton, or hello, is this name, just to verify that they're the actual recipient of the booking, right? So that's going to be the first message right there. And then from here, we have the prompt. So again, I'm just pasting a prompt that I've already pre-built, and I'll run you through it quickly. So right here, we have system prompt. Again, I'm going to be pasting this in, which is going to be the role, right? So role, you are Max, a friendly and reliable voice AI assistant for Flow-Right Plumbing. Again, I'm just going to be doing this for, a plumbing company, whatever, but it doesn't really matter what you have right here. But again, I'm just going to be doing this to plumbing company so you can see how it works. Obviously, you can change the prompt, but this is just a prompt that I've used for a plumbing company, right? Okay, now let's go ahead and add in the task. So this is going to be the task. So again, this role section is just giving a role for the voice AI agent, but the task section is going to be very important right here. Again, I'm just going to be pasting in the task. Okay. Okay, so this is our task, right? So your core responsibility is to confirm upcoming plumbing services with customers. Follow this step-by-step workflow to ensure a smooth professional interaction. Step 1 is going to be verify the customer. So ask if you are speaking with the intended customer by name. Example, hello, am I speaking with name? So again, we're using that dynamic variable again. Wait for the customer's response. If yes, proceed to step 2. If no, ask politely. No problem, is name available right now? Or would you like us to pass along a quick message, right? So again, this first part is just verifying the customer to make sure that we're actually speaking to the right person to confirm the appointment. Okay, and then from there, if we have verified it, we're going to move on to step 2. But if we haven't verified the customer, we're just going to say, please let me know, or we'll just say, if they convey the message, say, perfect, please let Ashton know the following. I'm calling from Flow-Right Plumbing to remind you about their upcoming appointment for reason. Again, this is another dynamic variable that we have used to extract from that. If we come back here, we can see that the reason is going to be this service type right here that we're going to be putting into Vapi. So again, we're just verifying and making sure if we don't get an initial verification from the customer, we can let them know and pass them, we'll just let the customer know to tell their friend or whatever that they have an upcoming appointment, right? And then if the name is unavailable and they cannot take the message, respond, no worries at all. I'll give them a call back later. Thank you for the day. And then use end call function right here, right? Step 2 is going to be introduce yourself and state the purpose. So clearly introduce yourself and explain why you are calling. Reference the specific service you have. For example, this might be an example. Hello, this is Max from Flow-Right Plumbing. I'm reaching out to you to remind your upcoming appointment for reason. Again, that's another dynamic variable we have used. Step 3, share appointment details. So again, provide the service type and the scheduled time window in a natural conversational way. So for example, we're giving another example. You are scheduled for, a leaky tap between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. And then always convert ISO format timestamps into a friendly conversational tone. So we can see the reason why we've done this if we come back to make. And if we come in here, these come in here to the start time right here. So we can see that's an ISO 861 format. We don't necessarily want the agent to say 22nd of October 2025, 5 p.m., right? We might just want to say tomorrow at 5 p.m., right? So that's why we're prompting it exactly like that, right? Then step 4, we have confirm customer availability. So let's come back. We'll just open this up. Step 4, confirm customer availability. So now we're going to be asking if the customer is actually available to confirm their appointment. So ask the customer if the scheduled time works for them. For example, does this time work for you? wait for the customer's response. If the customer confirms the appointment, which is fine, respond warmly saying, great, our technician will see you then for your, service appointment. Is there anything else I can help you with, right? So if the customer wants to reschedule, cancel, or respond, just say this, no problem at all. Let me connect you with someone from our office who can help you with that right away. So this agent is only for confirming appointments and creating those outbound calls. It's not actually going to be for rescheduling, canceling, etc. So this is why we use the transfer call function, which is what we're going to be adding in the tools to transfer a call to someone that can actually, get them rescheduled in, right? If the customer seems uncertain or unclear, just gently confirm to them. So again, more prompt engineering right there. So again, that's going to be our task. Now we only have a few other things, which is going to be the specifics, context, and notes as well. So again, this is just extra prompt engineering to make our AI agent and AI voice agent more conversational. So I'm just going to be adding this in right here. Okay, so we have specifics. So again, I'm not going to be going too in depth. I'll give you a general overview. This specific section is just more prompt engineering to make it, personalized and just really handle all scenarios. So for example, hold time. If you need to process information or use a function, say 1 moment while I help you with that. Confirmation, always repeat confirmation times. Personalization, use the customer's first name. So you can see this is just some specifics. And then we've got context right here. So again, I've just did a little bit of context dumping, which is what we call it in prompting, to give the agent context about what is actually, going to be happening in this conversation. So we can see you operate in a home service environment where customers are dealing with plumbing issues that may range from your routine maintenance to urgent repairs. Flowright Plumbing is known for its punctual, professional, and service and clear communication. So you can see right here, we're giving the agent a little bit of context about the business, the situation that we're dealing with, right? And then from here, we have notes. So again, do not attempt to, reschedule and cancel. So just reinforcing that the agent actually can't do that. And then we've also get if the start time is this right here in that ISO 861 format, say 10 a.m. Thursday, October 31st, not the raw timestamp. So again, more prompt engineering inside the notes in the final section to make sure the AI agent is just more conversational in the way it speaks, right? Okay, and then from here, we're just going to go ahead and update. So that's going to be our system prompt. Of course, if you download this AI agent template, you'll get all of these system prompts, everything obviously completely for free. Files are going to leave that at the moment. Max tokens will leave at 250, and then the temperature will just range it from there. Essentially, this temperature just means varying the creativeness of the AI's response. So if we put it down, it's going to be more strict to our prompt. And if you put it further up, it's going to be more creative. So just have it around here. That's what I leave it as. And then the one more thing we're going to need to do is add in some tools right here. So we're going to add in a transfer tool and also an end call tool as well. So if we come back to the tools right here, create tool, and then we're going to do transfer call, right? The name is going to be transfer call, and then the description is to transfer the call to a staff member, right? Awesome. Member, right? Transfer the call to a staff member, and then configurations, want to add a destination, and it'll just be phone number, right? And then this is where you can add in any phone number that you want to transfer. Whether it's yours, just go ahead and add in your personal number. Whether it's another one, just add in that, right? But I'm going to be adding in, I actually won't be able to add in my personal number because I'm going to be speaking to it, so it can't really transfer across. But for whatever number you want right here, just go ahead and add that. Make sure it's in plus format. So whatever your country code is, make sure it's in E61 format, and you can go ahead and do that right there. So again, usually just add in whatever number you want. I can't add in my own number because I'm going to be speaking to the agent. So we just go ahead and click save right there. Again, that's my bad, but yeah. So again, that number was just not formatted correctly, but yeah, add in your number, it'll work fine. And then the final tool that we want to add is an end call tool. So it's going to be just end call, very simple, to end the call from the customer, right? Again, giving the agent the ability to end call is very important as well. Okay, now let's come back to the assistant, go into appointment reminder agent again. That prompt didn't actually save, but that's fine. I've got it already loaded up right here. Again, make sure you always publish right here. I actually forgot to do that because it didn't save. But yeah, that's fine. Again, yeah, now we're going to come down to tools, and we're going to add in those tools right here. So we're going to add in end call, and then we're also going to add in transfer call. Okay, now our agent is all good to go. Now, you want to keep this tab open because we're going to need a few extra configurations as well inside our agent prompt. Okay, now this is where we can come back to make.com and we can now configure this Vapi create call work scenario. So again, assistant ID, you may just want to refresh, this module right here so that it actually grab all your assistants. So again, I'm just going to refresh it and then we can see assistant ID is going to be that agent right there, appointment reminder agent. And then the name, just give it a name, Outbound. This doesn't really matter what this is. Whatever. Phone number ID. Now, this phone number ID, you're going to need to connect a phone number. Now, I'm not going to go too in depth on actually how to do that. But as we can see right here, go into your phone number tabs and you want to connect a phone number. Now, I've already connected my phone number. I've done it through Twilio. So you want to connect a phone number through Twilio to make an outbound call from your agent right there. I will leave down a docs and a guide down below in the link description if you want to check that out, to actually figure out how you can import your Twilio number, or alternatively, you can just search, a tutorial on how to do that. But you want to make sure you have a number in here. Okay, and then from there, because I've already got my number, I just go ahead and select that. And then this is where we're going to want to add the customer number. Now, and then we want to run this again. So I'm just going to be running this entire thing just because we need to get some data from ChatGPT, then go ahead and obviously input right there. Okay, awesome. That's been completed. Now let's go on to Google Calendar. So not Google Calendar. We need to go into Vapi again. And then we're going to do create call, obviously, pop right here. All right, and then customer phone number. So again, this is going to be the number that we have for the customer. And you can see right there, that has been our OpenAI results. And as we can see, this is why it's important to map in this data via JSON objects. So we can see that has been the result of ChatGPT, and we've mapped in all that data. We've cleaned it up from this Google Calendar and we've put it in data that we can now map into Vapi, right? So the phone number is, you want to be that phone number. So that's going to be the phone number. It's going to be calling it on me. Assistant overrides, we'll just leave that. That doesn't matter. And then we're going to need to add in variable values down the bottom as well. And this is where we're going to be mapping in all that data to then connect to our custom variables right here inside Vapi. Let's come back to make. And then the key, we're just going to be naming this, right? So make sure it is exactly like this. Otherwise, it won't work. So make sure your keys are the same name as it is right here. So let's come back to make. Let's do name. And then let's just map in the values we have, right? Name, and then we want to do phone number. That's going to be the value there. Reason. Again, I'm just mapping everything in. And then we will need start time. End time. Okay. Awesome. Okay, now we have everything we need. That's all mapped in. Voicemail message, we'll leave that for now. Okay, awesome. Now let's go ahead and save this. And now our Vapi assistant is created right here. So that is all good. We now have that Vapi assistant all created. So let's actually go ahead and test this agent, and you can see how it's able to make an outbound call for that Google Calendar. Okay, so I'm going to click run once. And by the way, this automation will run every day at 9 a.m. So let's go ahead and click run once, and you can see it's able to call my phone right here. Awesome. So we're receiving an outbound call right there. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Ashton. This is Max calling from Flow Right Plumbing. I'm reaching out to remind you about your upcoming appointment for leaky tap repair. You're scheduled for your leaky tap repair between 6 and 7 a.m. on Wednesday, October 22nd. Does that time still work for you?
Yeah, it actually does. Yeah.
Perfect. Our technician will see you then for your leaky tap repair. Is there anything else I can help you with today?
No, that was all. Thanks. Thanks so much for confirming.
You're very welcome, Ashton. Thank you. We'll see you soon for your leaky tap repair. Have a great day.
Right, now we're going to be going through how to connect your number for outbound and inbound calls for Vapi AI. Now, this process is going to be a little bit more difficult just because we need to use API requests, but it's not too bad. As long as you follow everything step by step that I'm doing, you should be able to get it set up. So again, let's come back to Twilio. And what you want to do up here, you want to search Elastic SIP trunks, right? And then you'll be put into this little dashboard right here. Go ahead and click create new trunk. And then we'll do Vapi SIP trunk. Click create. And then from there, you'll be imported into this little dashboard right here. Now, if we come back over to the Twilio, we're going to need to set up a termination URI, which is going to be for outbound calls. So again, very similar if you did follow the retail section. It's the exact same process. So again, termination URI, we'll just go down to Vapi SIP. Again, something very similar to what they have right there. It probably won't be available because that's what they've used, but let's see. Vapi Citron test. Again, give it a name, whatever you want, right? Again, that'll be available. Just make sure it is available. Let's come back to the documents. And now we need to allow our SIP trunk to accept outbound requests, right? So we're going to need to put in these things right here. So again, come back to here. We're going to need to put IP access control list, right? Then come down to here. We'll just do Vapi auth1, right? CIDR network. Come back to Vapi. This is going to be this right here. So again, 4429, right? Come back to here. And then it needs to be 32. Awesome. 32, right? Go ahead and click create ACL. And then from here, we'll do the same thing. So we'll just do Vapi auth2. Come back to the documents. Again, make sure you have this documents pulled up so you can actually copy and paste this. Come back to here, click copy this, and then let's come down. It's going to need to be 32 again, right? So come back here, 32, create ACL. Awesome. So we have those created. Now let's go down and we need to, yeah, I'm pretty sure we don't need a credential list. I believe we just need these access control lists, right? So it's a little bit different to Twilio because we're going to be using APIs to create the credential instead of that, right? So again, that's why we don't need this part. So again, we can go ahead and create, save that, right? Right now, once you have that termination set up, you want to come back to the docs. Again, I'm just following this doc. So again, purchase or move a phone number to the elastic trunk, right? So come down to numbers right here. All right, and then go down to add number, add an existing number. Again, I've already bought a number in Twilio. If you don't have a number, just go down to add number and buy number right there, right? So again, add existing number. We're going to come down to this number right here, and we're going to select it, right? Awesome, right here, right? Now, this is where we're going to need to use some API request credentials. So again, instead, unlike retail, where we had to create a credential list right here, right? Unlike retail, because that's what we did, right? We need to actually create an API request via APIs inside Vapi. So that's where some people get stuck in creating these numbers, right? So again, I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. So again, you want to open up something called Postman, right? That's going to be the platform we're going to be using to send APIs essentially, right? Now, after you have either added a number or you bought a number, what you want to do is you want to come over to a platform that we call Postman, right? Essentially, Postman is going to be the platform that is going to be allowing us to send API requests, which is exactly what we want. So again, if you come back all the way over to here, this is going to be this double curly bracket that we actually need to paste in. So if we get this right here, we come back to Postman. Again, make sure to sign into Postman, click up the top, create a new API request, and make sure it's switched to Post, right? Paste this in here, and then we're going to need a few things, right? So again, we're going to need to put in this IP little thing right here. What you want to do is you want to come back to termination, I believe it is. Yep, right here. And then paste in your little username right here, or whatever you want to call it. Put it in there, and then come back, get this, and then put it in at the end, right? So again, this is going to be the thing that you're going to need to get the credential ID. So if we come back here, right, we're going to need the credential ID, which is to register and associate your phone number. So again, come back here, make sure to click send. But before you do that, within the authorization sections, right, you need to add an auth and make sure it is, I believe it's bearer token. And then this is going to be the token that you have inside Vapi, right? So if you come back to your Vapi dashboard, come into API keys, right? Get your private API key, copy it in here, right? And then go from there, right? So again, if we come back to here, and then what you want to do is you want to go over to this little section, https:/credential. Come back to here, paste that in, and click send. Now everything should work. All right, awesome. And after you have sent that API request for this little credential type right here, you want to get this ID number, right? This ID number is going to be used to create our next API request, which is going to be creating the phone number. So again, let's go back over to a new request. Go ahead and click create. switch it to post. And then for this URL right here, we want to come back to the Vapi docs, right? And it's going to need to be this little HTTP request right here. So again, copy this from the docs, come back over to here, and then post it in there, right? And then before we go ahead and design the body, we want to go over to authorizations and make sure you have your auth type set to bearer token. And then your private API token will be already stored in there, right? Then from there, once you have that done, we'll go back over to body. And then what you want to do is you want to come back over to the docs and then paste in this little -d section right here. Come in, paste that in, come back to Postman, right? And then from there, what you want to do is we want to put in our number and our credential ID. So our credential ID is the whole reason why we did this first API request to get this, right? So again, if we come back, copy this in, come over to here, and then awesome. So again, that's our credential ID put in. And then all we need to do is get our phone number. So if we come back to Vapi right here, we paste this number and then we come back, paste it in, right? And once you put in that number, you should be all good to go. We can go ahead and click send and boom, 201 created. So again, if we come back to our Vapi dashboard and then we come into phone numbers, boom, it just appeared right there. So again, that's exactly how you can connect your Twilio number all the way over to Vapi. Okay, so now once you've understood how to build those 3 agents, which is the inbound agent, the outbound agent, and then also the lead qualification agent, now we need to actually understand how to observe, test, and refine these agents that you've built within the Vapi platform. So again, we won't just build agents, we'll learn to manage them like a professional. We're going to master the observe tab to analyze call logs and metrics in real time. And then we're also going to be going through test suites and evaluations to grade the performance of our agent and overall just to monitor and test all of our agents inside the Vapi platform. Okay, so now we're going to be going through the observe section right here, and we're going to be covering metrics. Now, metrics is an overall way to see all of the different metrics, the different minutes, number of calls, etc., for all your voice agents. So it's a very, very efficient and very overall way to kind of see everything about your voice AI agents as well. So at the top, we have a filter, so you can filter it by different dates. This is very useful to see what certain agents, how much they're spending, the number of calls that they're intaking in particular dates. And then we also have group by days, which we can see. You can group it by hours, days, weekly, and monthly. And then right here is another very important tab. So you can actually filter it by different assistants that you have within inside your Vapi account. And a good thing here is that you can actually show clients, you can show people that you are building these systems for the overall metrics of their agents. So as you can see, these are some of the most important metrics for your voice AI agents in Vapi. We've got total call minutes, which essentially is the total call minutes for all your assistants for this by days, right? We've got number of calls, right? We can see the number of calls that are coming in per day. This is very good to analyze the volume of all your agents. We've got total spent. We can see the total spent of all of our voice AI agents for that particular day. And then we've got average cost per call, which is, again, another very important metric. So you can give this to your clients and you can also monitor it intensively when you are launching these agents to see an overall metric on how they are doing. And then down here, we have the call analysis section. So again, we've got reason that the call ended. We can see customer ended call, assistant ended call. So we can see, how the calls are getting ended. Most of the time, we want the assistant to end the call if it is an inbound agent. Because that way the agent is doing the conversation right and it's saving the minutes as well. So we can see the reason call ended down here as well. And then from here, we have average call duration by assistant. So we can see this is a group function of every single assistant and the average call for that particular assistant. And then from here, we have cost breakdown right here. So again, this is an overall cost breakdown on all the different components and different elements of your voice AI agent. So we've got LLM costs, we've got STT costs, we've got TTS costs, and then we've got Vapi's costs as well. So you can see the cost breakdown for that particular day on this month right here. And then from here, we have success evaluation. So again, this is a very, very important metric to obviously display for your voice agents. Are the conversations being successful or are they not successful, right? So we can see an overall breakdown of everything. Obviously, this is just a demo account where I build all my demos on, but you can see an overall success evaluation. So true is it is, true is it is successful, or false, is it not successful, right? Then we've got unsuccessful calls right here. So we can see an overall metric for all the unsuccessful calls that are coming in. And this is filtered to the latest date. So this is very, very useful when you are monitoring your agents after you've just launched it to see if there's any unsuccessful calls happening in real time so you can quickly resolve them. Number of concurrent calls is a very, very useful feature. Essentially, concurrent calls means how many calls that the agent is taking at the exact same time. So we can see we can filter this by day, month, hour, etc. for the number of concurrent calls. So that essentially wraps up the entire metric. As I said, again, this is a very useful way for you to intensively monitor particular agents up here using the filter assistant section. And you can also give this dashboard and let the client know that this is their dashboard inside Vapi so they can see the overall metrics of their voice AI agents. So that's just a quick little section on actually how this observe section works. Now let's move on to more of the call logs, chat logs, and session logs. So you can actually analyze all the particular conversations, the API tool calls, and how the voice AI agent is interacting with different components. Okay, so that metrics dashboard is just an overall metrics of all your voice AI agents. Now we can go into the call logs. Again, we're going to be covering the call, chat logs, session logs, and then also webhook logs as well. And then we'll dive into the testing section as well and how that's actually configured in Vapi. So right here we have the call logs. Essentially, this is where you can monitor all your calls. This is one of the most important sections when you're actually monitoring and looking at your agents and looking to see what's going wrong, looking what's going to be happening in the conversation. So this is the place for that right here. So essentially up the top, you can see you can filter it by all calls right here. You can come down to transferred. You can come down to successful. So again, you can filter everything up the top. And then this is where you can have all of your different filters. So again, maybe you want to filter it by only a certain day or time, right? Which is on this day, right? Let's just say a client maybe have an issue for a particular agent on a certain day. You can actually go ahead and look at that day, like in between it, right? And then you can see what has happened for that call. So again, then here we have the cost. So this is a cost is greater than a certain amount of money. That's how you can filter by cost, right? Call type, right? Is it an inbound call? Is it an outbound call? Or is it a web call only? So this is where you can see all of the different types of calls that you're having, and you can filter by call types, right? Assistant, this is one of the most useful ones. So you can see you can actually filter by all of your assistants right here to only show certain calls for only assistants, right? Transcend assistant name, again, I don't use that. We've got squads, filtering it by squads, filtering it by squad name. So again, that's just the name. You can either search whatever name it might be inside there. Yeah, that's essentially how you can do it by that. Same thing, the squads. Phone number, you can switch it to whatever phone number you have. Customer number, this is where you can switch it to the customer number. So again, maybe you want to put in a number that has an issue. So, some client said there's been an issue on a call, and your voice agent has broken or something, then you can go ahead and put in the number right here, right? So that's another very useful feature on how to filter for numbers, right? Then we have call ID. So again, filtering by the particular call ID, and we can see the call ID of these little numbers down there, right? Success evaluation, again, filtering it by passes or fails. Essentially, passes means that it has been successful in its call by whatever objective it is. If it is answering a question, that means it is successful. If it is booking an appointment, that means it is successful. And then failing means essentially it's just not successful, right? And whatever its end objective is. So that is that section. And then we can also go and see the ended reason. So why has the call ended? You can filter it by those reasons. We've got metadata up the top. So this is just metadata inputted from our agent. Structured outputs, which again, we have no structured outputs inside the filter. Then from here, the score of the agent, and then assistant override values, which I don't use, right? Right, so those are all the featured tools that we can see down there. And then we also have a little refresh button. You can refresh the call logs, and then you can also export it to an Excel CSV sheet. So if we go ahead and export it, you can see that we'll get a little export right here at the top. But yeah, that's essentially everything on how we do that and the call section. So now let's actually dive into on a call, and I will show you what an example little transcript looks like through a example agent we did. So I believe we copy up the full thing. So this is exactly what it looks like, and it's very important. So we can actually see the recording here on the top. We can see the transcript, and we can see all these different metrics. So up here, you can see this is a recording of you and your agent and the customer having a conversation. So you can actually actively monitor your agents. What are they, what is it doing in real time? How is it handling conversations, etc., etc. So we can see that's how you can monitor these agents when they go live through the recordings, right? If you have consent to do a recording, right? And then from here, this is the transcript tab. So this is very important for a few things. You can see the transcript of the assistant and the user right here, right? So that's a very, very important factor. And then another important thing is checking availability. So you can click in and you can see where these conversations and all these availability tools have taken place, right? So you can see the customer's obviously spoken and wants to book a reservation. Then the agent calls a reservation tool. So you can see where in the conversation the agent is booking and making call tool transfers as well, and all these different tool calls, right? So that's essentially the transcription section. You can see the entire transcript, right? And then we have logs. So these are all the individual logs that the agent does. This is more on the back end, but you can see everything where the user speech starts. Essentially, this is just all the APIs interacting with each other. We've got analysis. So we can see this is analysis of the call. John booked a reservation for infusion at 5 people at 4:30. That's an overall summary analysis. The success evaluation was true. It was successful and he did book a call. So this is this analysis section right here. Structured outputs, there's no structured output. So essentially this is just extracted structured information after the call. And then we have messages. So again, this is just one big long line of JSON, right? It just tracks all the messages and tool call IDs. So we can see, I believe it will have in our N8N workflow somewhere along here. But we can see this is the prompt, right? So this is the prompt going into the LLM, right? And these are just all the different things interacting within the messages. Call costs right here, very useful. So you can see the individual call costs for each call with the broken down all the costs within Vapi. So we can see these are all how it's broken down for this particular call. So you can see how much it's spending on the LLM. You can see how much it's spending on the STT model and the TTS model, and all these different types of things, right? Then we have latency. So this is just a summary of the latency. This is just an average latency. Now this call is very short. That's why there's no latency summary there. So this is the average latency that the assistant has spoken. And then this is the assistant-based stuff. So this is all of the prompts for the assistant. So that's essentially everything we have inside the call details right here. We come back to the call pages. That's going to be it, right? And then let's go into a general overview. So we can see we've got the type of call, we've got the call ended reason, and we've got the success evaluation all down here. You can select it, and then you can also delete it as well. So I believe we've covered everything in the call logs. Now, where this is very applicable for the real world, obviously when you're actively monitoring your agents, particularly what I like to do is when you're launching your agents, if you are launching your agents through Vapi, you can go into each individual call that the first calls that the agent is making since it's been deployed, and you can see what it's been doing. You can see the success evaluation. Is it a true? Is it pass? Is it doing what it's supposed to be doing in the business's phone system? So that's a very, very good use case. And also if something goes wrong, right? The conversation goes wrong, if a phone call goes wrong, if someone, if the manager or staff says that, a major thing has happened, you can directly go into the call logs and you can see the exact issue, right? Is it a, tool call log, right? Is it a check availability? Has something happened with the tool call? Has something happened with the agent hallucinating? You can see everything in this exact section right here. So that's just a quick overview of the call log sections. Now we can go into the chat log. Essentially, this is just an overall view of the exact same thing, but it's just a chat log, right? So again, when we're testing our agents, we can go into a chat log, and this is just how we can see everything for the chat log. Again, it's very, very similar. It's just for the chats right here. So as you know, there's a chat section in Vapi. If we come up to the assistant right here, and we can chat. So these are just all the chat logs that you have. This is just good for testing if you don't want to talk to it, right? Okay, awesome. So we've covered all of that, and then we have session logs right here. So this is all the session logs of your AI agent. We'll just wait for it to load. We don't have any session logs right there, but this essentially means all of the managed sessions right now that it's happening for the agent, right? And then from here, we have a webhook logs. So again, this is where you can go in depth and you can see the different webhook tool calls. So if we click on one of these here, we can see that this is an example, right? We can see the URL. We can see the body message that has inputted into that URL, right? We can see the response for this tool call. So all of the tool calls and all of the tools that are making these functions and these API calls to N8N and make, you can see how they're interacting, right? And if something goes wrong, you can actually see the issue on why it's going wrong inside this section. So if we click into an example right here, we can see what's happening. So we can see it started at this time and then it ended at this time. So again, it took like 300 milliseconds, right? You can see the duration of it was about 0.3, right? 300 milliseconds. You can see the URL, you can see the path of that particular webhook, and then this is all the data that is interacted and it's sent over, right? Then you can see the response, essentially 200 means successful, and then 400 means it's unsuccessful, right? We've got the miscellaneous, so we can see this is all the particular information for Vapi, which is going to be the organization ID, and then call ID, assistant ID, etc., right? So that's everything that we have right there inside Vapi, right? And then from there, you can go down and you can see everything, and of course, you can scroll it, and you can also search it by columns, whatever you want to do, right? So that essentially covers the webhook logs, right? And then we have API logs. These are just making requests to different API services right here. This will be more of like the voice library and kind of the back end. So we can see I'm making API logs in between the Vapi sections, right? So now that we've covered all of the metrics and we've covered everything, now let's go into actually testing our agents and how to use the inbuilt test feature. All right, now let's get into one of the final parts, which is going to be testing. And we're going to be using the brand new eval section. So essentially, this allows us to run test suites and evals to grade the performance of our voice AI agents right here. So this essentially allows us to systematically test your AI agents against expected behavior. So essentially, what we can do here is we can put in evals to our agent. So for example, we can describe what the evaluation will test. So let's say test this agent's yeah, no, we'll do test this agent's ability to book a appointment, right? That's what an example of an evaluation might do, right? And then you can just do like test underscore one, and then you can add whatever provider it is. So essentially, it's going to be using AI to test against AI. So it's going to be creating automatic chat completion modules, and it's going to be testing that AI using whatever evaluation you've set, right? And then from here, you can see how to do the appointment, right? So you can see you can test it against different types of assistants. So again, let's just go ahead and do that, right? And you can see it's got the prompt in right there, right? This probably won't work because we haven't got anything hooked up, right? So you can see this is how you can evaluate it, and you can go ahead and test. Now this is probably run. It probably won't actually work because we haven't got a tool call. We haven't got a tool call on it. So we can see that it's running the test right now, right? You can see, and that's how you can test your agent right there. So now if we come back to here, and you can create a evaluation, and you can create a new one. So again, the test results will come here, and this is essentially a quick way you can test it, right? And then you can switch it in between conversation turns and then assistants and squads right there, right? And then finally, this last section we have, which is going to be boards of the AI agent. So you can create visual boards for your AI agent right here. If we just name this, right, we can see that we can create visual boards. So if we come down, we can do a call, and then it'll be let's just do model latency and average, and then we can select it by all. And then you can kind of see it's going to create us a little data right here. If we just come out, let's just do assistant only right here. So you can see this is how you can create custom boards and create custom views of whatever analytics you want, right? So you can see you can range it. So again, it's just another way for metrics, but it's a more personalized way to create custom data for everything. So that's just a quick overview on the testing section as well. And then let's actually dive down to actually how Vapi do all of their credits as well. So we can see right here, this is how they do their credit. So again, as I said, Vapi before, Vapi don't do upselling like retail. Retail upsell all the API costs. Vapi have their set costs that they do. And essentially, if you understand how they work, obviously it's doing the TTS model, it's doing the STT model, and it's doing all those different models. Vapi is only charging a flat fee, and then it's just charging you the direct hard costs of all the API costs, as well as retail, which is adding a markup onto everything, and they don't have actually costs as that. So that's the difference between everything. And they obviously bill it on credits. So I believe $10 is about, I think it's about maybe an hour worth of credits. I'll have to double check it. But I think point one right here, point one credit is about 10 cents. So I think that's how it works. So you can work out obviously how much that would be in calls. So that's essentially how everything works. And then here you can actually upgrade, and you can see all the members of your organization right here. This is all the integration section. So again, you've got all your inbuilt integrations. You'll need to actually go ahead and input your OpenAI key. So because because Vapi do it by the hard cost, and then they have their set Vapi cost, you're gonna need to add in billing information, and then you're also gonna need to add in your API keys for OpenAI, etc. Right? So that's why it's a little bit different like that as well. All right, and then you can also actually go ahead and see your usage right here. So you can see the daily usage, you can see the weekly usage, so you can see how much money you're using, of course, right? Of course, if you're doing it on the clients end, they're going to be paying for the hard costs, obviously, because you're an agency owner, you're providing the service, they're paying for the hard costs, right? So that's essentially everything. And then they also have different plans for obviously pay as you go, right? And then they've got an enterprise plan, which allows you to get bundled minutes and cheaper costs as well, right? So that's just a quick overview on everything that we have right here inside the inside the billing section. So that's going to wrap it up for this entire voice masterclass. Of course, I'm going to be leaving all the free resources, all the agents that I've built down below. You'll get all the agents completely for free so you can actually understand everything. Of course, if you did enjoy this video, feel free to like, subscribe, leave a comment if you also enjoyed it as well. And if you are a business owner and you are looking to have a custom done for you built system on one of these voice platforms and you want it all done for you, feel free to go ahead and book a free discovery call down below in the link in description. And also, if you are looking to learn these agents and you want free resources, go ahead and join my free resource hub. That's where you'll find all the free resources in my school community to go ahead and get started completely for free and quickly. So without further ado, I'll see you in the next video.